puppy farts.
Hello and welcome.
Opening phrase, puppy farts.
Hello and welcome to the Captain's Table, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Paul Berserker01, Batman Shelley, your humble host and space bartender here at the AstroPub, your space bar at the end of the universe. Sit back, relax, enjoy the show. We got a good one for you. This is the Captain's Table. The Captain's Table, which is a podcast talking about Star Citizen. We've been around for 8 years. This will be we're 9 years going to 9 years, so almost a decade now, where we talk about Star Citizen lore, news, theory crafting. I try to bring people from all over the Star Citizen universe to talk about the game. So if you are interested in joining, if you're a content creator, a machinima maker, a org leader, a former CIG employee, or a current CIG employee, and you want to have to discuss something, you can always have spaces open for folks to come on. So make sure you reach out to me on Discord or through my email, which are all linked in the description below for if you're on YouTube, and I think even on Twitch here. So, anywho, thank you so much for joining us so far. We're going to call it a night. That's it. I'm doing the outro suddenly. Let's introduce. I'll introduce the folks who are joining us today, starting with Mr. Radar Ranger. Andy, who are you? What do you do in Star Citizen? Where can they find you?
Hi everybody. So I am Radar Ranger, aka Andy Green. I am a self-identified Uber nerd for Star Citizen. Been a backer since 2012. My big connection, I guess, is that I own a company that produces an app called My Radar. It's a popular weather app here in the States. It shows maps of weather and stuff like that on the app. Back in 2017, we did this really cool collaboration with CIG where we took digital representations of their artificial planets and made it so you could see them and browse them inside the app. And that was a lot of fun. That was very cool. If you want to see more about it, you can watch the 2017 Star Citizen recording. And I presented there after Ian's talk on their planet technology. And yes, I'm as much of a nerd. My company also launched satellites into orbit back in 2019, and one of them had the Star Citizen logo on it. So yeah, I earned my Star Citizen nerd cred there. You can find me on Twitter or X as A Green. Nice and simple.
And Darsh, who are you? What do you do in Star Citizen? And where can they find you?
Moi?
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes,
let me do your proper title. Darionator.
There we go. I was waiting for that.
Prince of Pluto and Emperor of Uranus. Who are you? What do you do in Star Citizen? Where can they find you? Other than those things.
Well, other than those things, yeah, those take up like a huge portion of my schedule. But when I am not busy ruling Pluto and Uranus, I am the dog janitor. Yes, as Victoria says. I work for a company called JRDF primarily these days. Head modeler for them. If you don't know, they are the currently only licensed maker of Star Citizen ship models. I think like Ravel or Tamiya. Is it Tamiya?
Tamiya. I think it's Tamiya.
Tamiya, yeah, stuff like that. Airfix, little ships. We go from small ones in 1 to 500 scale up to 1 to 40. But yeah, we'll actually have a booth at CitizenCon. So if you are there, come check us out. We'll have a lot of stock with us, and also a new thing called the 1 to 100 Raven. But yes, I've been talking about this for so long. So other stuff that I do is, I guess I continually go on Reddit and am continually surprised at why.
It's like saying going onto Spectrum. Why damage your mental health like that? Yeah.
At least I don't go to Spectrum.
Self-flagellation.
Yeah.
He likes pain.
Maybe I do. Yeah. But yeah. Come check us out. We'll be at on the floor at CitizenCon, and we'll have a lot of nice things to show off. Not just the 1 to 100 Raven, but also other things.
A 1 to 1 Raven?
That's me. 1 to 1 Raven. No, even the 1 to 8 Raven is being put up in an office somewhere, I believe.
Is it still hanging? I know it was hanging in the old Winslow office.
In the Winslow office, yeah, it was in the Winslow office. Funny story about that is, as soon as it was put in, the very next day it was pissing it down, and all the people who came in, all had the hoods up, trying to just get into their workspace, go through the lobby, not looking up where it was,
where it was
very
hanging.
resplendent and lit up. Yeah, no, just nobody noticed.
I remember seeing.
was-
It was funny because it was like I saw some CIG employees respond to it. It's like they were leaving to go to lunch and they were just like, "What the hell is that?" And they're like, "Oh, it's a raven. Why is a raven up here?" Yeah, so which is for those who don't know, that was the 2016 or was that the 20
in Frankfurt? Yes,
in Frankfurt? Yeah, or was no, that was
Yeah.
it was 2019 then. No,
16 was Austin. 17 then.
it was 16 was LA.
17.
Yeah, 17
nah.
had it because it was in
Yeah,
Germany,
it
wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
one I spoke at, I
s-
think.
Yeah, 16 was LA, 17 Frankfurt, 18 LA, 19
No.
Manchester, and 20.
18 was awesome because I was there at 18 in 18. 'cause it
Yeah, I
was
didn't
in-
say that.
You say LA.
Sorry, 16 LA, 17 Frankfurt, 18 LA, 19 Manchester. Yeah.
18 Austin.
God damn it. Yes, whatever. Yes.
No, that's,
No.
for those who don't know, that's the
Apparently,
rotation.
my mind just refuses to acknowledge the existence of Austin.
That's how good of a time he had here when he was here in 2018. Though
I was in LA in 18. What are you talking about?
For those who don't know, that's the rotation for CitizenCon. It usually goes LA. Usually it goes Frankfurt. It goes LA, Frankfurt, Austin, Manchester.
Manchester.
And-
Yes, that's how it was until COVID, and then it was back.
Then
Then
it
it was
LA, and now it's
and then Manchester instead of Frankfurt. Yeah.
Yeah. So
But then now they also have Montreal, so maybe they're completely shifting it about.
I
We'll see
think
what happens next year.
I think next year will still be Austin. When talking with CIG about, I've talked with the community developers about it, community managers about it, and I'm like, where do they think they're going? And they were like, well, it's a logistics issue. And one of the things they had was like just that Montreal didn't have the right mid-sized venue for them, but they also didn't know what size venue they would need in, because like we'll be talking about Squadron 42 for those of you who haven't read the title. We're talking about Squadron 42 in this episode, but I think this is a kind of good tie-in, which is. What do you do with a place like CitizenCon when Squadron 42 releases? Because if Squadron 42 releases, say, next year, next CitizenCon might be huge because CitizenCon might be people coming in for celebrating Squadron 42, possibly even more announcements about Squadron 42 or expansions or anything else like they might want to do with Squadron 42 on top of Star Citizen. So, like, do you prepare for like you have now with CitizenCon, where it's like pretty big, but it's still kind of like a mid-sized venue rather than like a huge convention center?
Isn't it like 5,000 this year?
Yeah, it's completely sold out, but like it was like it was 5,000, 2,000 last year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because it was huge there last year. I can't imagine what 5,000 could look like crap.
And then,
my social battery is going to be completely drained after the first day I have here.
Me and you both.
And then after that, do you continue to increase it? Do you think that CIG could sell like 7,000, 10,000 after Squadron? Because now you've got people who are like, because I firmly believe that Squadron 42 is going to have its own fan base, completely separate from Star Citizen, that is going to be unique to Squadron.
Yep.
But we'll see. Anyways, speaking of that, let's talk a little bit about the topic for today, because for those of us who are Star Citizen fans, we probably have experienced this, I don't want to say envy, but definitely frustration over Squadron in the past. I don't think there's anybody who hasn't looked at Squadron and went, yeah, Squadron's holding up Star Citizen in some way, shape, or form, because we all collectively understand that there are resources being diverted for Squadron that would otherwise be for Star Citizen because they're making two games. And a lot of us who are backers of Star Citizen have said, hey, we back Star Citizen, not Squadron 42, though there are people who did back both or did back one over the other kind of thing earlier on. But the vast majority of people prefer Star Citizen. So there's been that frustration in the past. So now that we're getting closer to the end, it's quite real. It's quite possibly, almost certainly, that Squadron 42 is going to be announced for a release date or a release window at CitizenCon this year. So Squadron 42 is going to have a release in the near future. CIG is pushing that direction. The question becomes...
The only thing they have to avoid is the GTA 6 window.
Yes. That's a completely separate question. We'll kind of ask that at the end. But I think that actually ties into this. The main question is, how much does Squadron's success or failure, like kind of how much does that cut into Star Citizen as a whole? Because the question is, like, I'll start off with we'll start off with the negative one. I'll start with you on this one, Darj. What happens to Star Citizen? Hold on 1 second.
Another delivery?
No, it's my mom. But what happens to Star Citizen if Squadron 42 fails? Be right back. Yes. Hey, Mom, what's up? I realized that I muted the wrong thing.
We've been trying sign language here.
My father passed away earlier this year, and my mom's been having health concerns. So when she calls, I was like, I'm gonna take this real quick.
I'm with you on that. I went through both those.
Yeah. So sorry. Let's ask the question again, and I'll cut this into the right stuff. Darj, your thoughts. So I'll preface this like this. I had a technical issue. I had my mom call, so we dealt with it. That's why you probably saw a little cut there if you're watching this after the fact. So I'll ask Darj this question again. What happens if Squadron 42 fails? What happens to Star Citizen if Squadron 42 is a flop? Don't do that to me. Don't do that to me.
You had me fooled.
If Squadron fails, I don't think that is going to kill Star Citizen, because Star Citizen itself gets enough money in, especially with all the ship sales and the events and everything. It brings in enough money on its own that it will keep the ship going. It'll keep the ship running, maybe at a reduced capacity, so they'll they'll have to, like, I don't know, sell a floor at Manchester or something like that. So scale down. But I don't think it'll be the death of CIG. But if it succeeds, and I really hope it does.
Let's wait for this to succeed, because I think that's a separate question I wanted to talk about as well.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So there is the question of the investors, pulling out with their some of the money that they've invested, which I believe now is approaching 10% or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Total funds. Yeah. Which in the long, because CIG invests and spends the money immediately, they're not stockpiling, they're not sitting on 700 million in cash right now. So if they pull that money out, that actually might prove difficult. But I hope they're not one of those run and gun sort of investors that only care about immediate profits, and they will see the project through its labored life if Squadron proves unsuccessful.
Okay.
But they have, okay. So I'll stop here.
We'll do that.
Then we'll continue.
I'm gonna ask another question on kind of on the reverse as well. Actually, I'll just ask you this as well, which is like there's also, I was talking with Chad earlier, there are levels of flops, right? So
that's what I was gonna say.
If we're like, do you think it'll hurt? What happens if Squadron 42 releases and it's like Cyberpunk, where like it's bad, but it's not actually bad in a gameplay sense. It's in the technical like bug and kind of experience, it's bad, and then they fix it over time.
That is the distinction you have to make.
Yeah.
Because if it's a buggy mess, I think that's going to set such a sour attitude with the gaming audience that it will probably, reinforce everything negative everybody's been saying about Star Citizen, and it may very well just deter people from wanting to even try playing the game, and potentially block people from wanting to get to Star Citizen, to proceed on past the single player game. If it's just a boring story, I don't think that's going to be as much of a problem, because there's still going to be diehards like me who will play anyway and will enjoy it, because we're already living in this universe and we want to have a chance to play in something that feels complete. And Squadron 42 seems like a perfect opportunity to do that. It's just if it disappoints because everything is, you can't complete a mission, that I think is going to be their biggest challenge.
Josh, same question for you.
There is one level of flop there I believe they're almost guaranteed not to do, and I think everybody knows what I'm talking about.
Popularity. Concord. Yeah.
Concord.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's an example, like as I've said many times before, it's a perfect example of why marketing is important in games, even though people hate the word marketing, because marketing is effectively, do people know that you exist? Because I didn't know Concord existed until after I'd heard it was failed. Exactly.
What is Concord?
Exactly. That's the problem.
Okay.
That's the problem. Concord was
should I know? Like, was it really good?
No. Well, it was
nobody knows.
Yeah.
So it was supposed to be Sony's Overwatch killer. Yeah, right. Yeah. They spent like 600 million or something like that.
$400 million.
$400 million on game development and zero on marketing. And the maximum Steam concurrency was
700. Yeah.
700. Space Trucker had 5,000.
Yeah. To give you context, it was made by ex-Bungie devs. So we're talking about people who have a lot of experience and a lot of skill and talent. And Sony gave them a bunch of money and then just let it die. Because they also made them charge $40 for it in a game where, like, even on Steam, like Overwatch and what's the other one, like something Lock, which is the Deadlock, which are another similar thing.
Valve's similar game in the Half-Life 2 universe. I need to check it out.
Oh, it's in Half-Life. I didn't know that. Yes,
it is in Half-Life universe. Yeah,
those games are free to play. So it's like charging $40 and then not even bothering to market it is a problem, and I don't think
killed it in 2 weeks.
2 weeks, yeah. I do not
2
think... 2
weeks after launching it, they completely removed it from sales and refunded everyone.
God, I hope CIG doesn't. This is one of the reasons why you don't do short run-ups on marketing, y'all. This is why.
Well, so are you kind of alluding to the fact that Chris wouldn't put enough money into marketing, and push it after it's out, or just that?
What we're saying is that almost certainly that level of flop won't happen with Star Citizen.
Okay, got it.
Because there's been 12 years of build up, at least in
this
some
is his
way.
magnum opus. He is gonna, publish the crap out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what I believe. If they're smart, we've been told that a playable first chapter of Squadron 42 is going to be available.
We have been sort of told. We've been told.
So yes, there's rumors.
It was a rumor that is verifiable because of the person who dropped it was a journalist who wasn't intentionally trying to leak that. It was other things they were talking about, but it was in relation to that. So
if that thing exists, I do believe they should release it as a free demo.
I agree.
Once they have a stable, playable start to finish build of it, they should release it, because then, even though I believe that the heyday of such things is past, like big game YouTubers, playing games, sponsored games, Let's Plays. But on the other hand, there's also a vacuum of that right now.
Mm-hmm.
So if they get
a demo
like Markiplier, to if they sponsor him, even if they don't sponsor him, just invite him to play it. He is such a big space nerd. He makes all of us, seem like amateurs.
Yeah,
he would immediately go for it.
He would probably be on level of Andy in terms of space nerds. Like, he is a secret, huge space nerd, like massive sci-fi space and all that sort of thing. So
he makes now sci-fi stuff. That's why he actually hasn't been doing much in terms of videos. But I checked even the couple of videos that he released over in 2024. All got several million views.
Markiplier, chat.
Markiplier.
I know a lot of people say who, because all of you are over the age of 50. If you are over the age of 40, you probably don't know who Markiplier is. But if you're under the age of 40, between the ages of, I would say, 18 and 25, you know who that is.
He would be like, he would spread the word to several new million.
Yeah.
How do we know where there's
millions?
Several million of new eyes. Yeah,
yes.
There we go.
Just to touch on what you said, though, the idea of releasing a free playable version of like the first level, that can go both ways. You have to have a lot of confidence that you're really going to wow people with that first version, because if it doesn't impress, then you run the risk of people not bothering to want to go further. Yeah. I would eat it up. I would love to have something like that.
So all you would need is a free account on RSI, not even a game package. Yeah, I
would hesitate on that, because I think if they did something like that, they would really want to have maybe as a because you can return your pre-order to someone would once they reopen pre-orders for Squadron, that you get that immediately when you get that pre-order. Boom, here you go. Level 1, chapter 1 of it, so you get it, because that's not unusual. There's a couple of games, especially indie games, that do that now, where they give you like the first level of the game when you buy it, and then they'll work on the game as they finish it, so you can play the first level, so you get an idea what the game is.
And Steam just supports a demo feature. Every game can have a demo. Just a second binary with not all with content missing.
And someone's saying that there's a reason why companies stopped doing trial demos for the last 10 years. That also because it's expensive to print discs, demo discs, which may or may not actually work. Yeah. So,
but now with digital downloads, the demo feature it should return, because it's just so much easier to do. And you rely on Valve to pay the costs for the downloads.
Yeah. All right.
Let's server cost for Squadron.
Let's switch back also, because we said like what would happen. I don't know if Andy, I don't know if you fully said about if like Squadron 42 fully failed, but I think you kind of alluded to it. You talked about the different types of flops, but
I think that was I think there's two. The general answer is that there's two schools of thought on it. Like maybe I'm repeating myself because I don't even remember what the hell I said now. But like, if it is a buggy mess, that could deter people from wanting to even go further. But if it flops in the sense that it's just not as engaging of a storyline, then that might not be as bad of a flop, because people like I said, the diehards will still want to play it and get in there and trudge through it because they know the storyline, or they know the concept of the story, they know the actors who are going to be in it, and they want to see it, and they want to live in that universe. I'm very much in that camp. I know the story has leaked, and I don't want to hear any spoilers, but like I know that there was some early negativity about the story, and I know that they had theoretically changed it up a little bit. So I'm kind of curious how all of that has played out, and I'm hoping we'll find out in a couple weeks.
I think the core of the story has remained.
Yeah, the plot.
It
the
is
general
just a
plot.
B movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, the general plot. Yeah, it's a B movie. It's what Chris Roberts is known for. Like
Yeah.
Wing Commanders.
Yeah.
Horrible when it comes to actual plot.
It was pretty terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
but
it was cool to be living in. Well, let me rephrase that. It was kind of neat to watch the Wing Commander universe. I played all those games when I was a kid, obviously. The biggest thing that bugged me is like anybody who's got a line in a movie that says "Don't you die on me." It's like, come on, are we still going to use that in the 21st century? But it was again, being a space nerd, it was fun to kind of watch it, and I can tolerate that kind of level of B movie stuff. If it's just that in the game, I don't think that's going to be big. I think if it's just a B story, it might detract from bringing in complete outsiders.
Yeah.
People who are looking for a really good, compelling story that makes you think and has a twist. And, to me, that's a bit of a bummer opportunity because they have all these A-list actors in it. Plenty of them have won Academy Awards and Oscars. And if they don't take advantage of that to have a really good story, that'll be a bit of a letdown. But I'm not counting on it.
Yeah.
On the other hand, like good actors are capable of turning even like the worst scripts into something good, just through their performance. And I believe having a bunch of A-listers that are even when they're phoned in are much better than local talent that they were able to get.
Gary Oldman and
elevate
Liam
that.
Cunningham.
Yeah.
Those two. There's nothing. I have optimism because there's nothing those two do that comes out bad. Those guys are so good.
Mark Strong plays Mark Strong in everything he is in.
They would have.
Mark Strong as a character is also very likable.
None of those actors would have signed on if they thought the project was garbage. Like they didn't have to sign on, and they're not exactly they're not exactly actors who are starving who take every role that's sent their way.
Is that entirely true though? Because this started 12 years ago. Gary Oldman hadn't even won his Oscar back then.
That's true.
I think he got the Oscar for Churchill.
But I don't remember Gary Oldman doing a ton of roles in 2012 and 2013. I think the last role he had done was before that. I think it was memorable was Commissioner Gordon in the Dark Knight series.
Kind of feel like Mark Hamill is what gave a lot of them the star power to want to join in on it.
Yeah,
because he obviously has the huge name from Star Wars, and it probably lent a lot of credibility to it. And I really think a lot of the people, Gillian Anderson.
She was on a rebound at that point. She was doing a lot of new articles at that time period. So she was just kind of picking up places where she could get. So
because she got her award for her role in The Crown, which I thought was awesome. And you could make the argument that all these guys, big names, hadn't really found their footing again, their second wind when they were actually doing Squad. When they first started the game.
Yeah, because. It does ebb and flow, right? Yeah, goes up and down the popularity and number of roles that they get. This is why like you constantly get like you had several years where The Rock was in everything, and Natalie Portman was in everything, but then it just stopped because everybody got tired of them so
even Liam Cunningham He didn't have Game of Thrones hadn't been out when they first started.
No, he would. Game of Thrones was out by the time he was doing it, but he was just started. Game of Thrones hadn't finished at that point. It was just in the beginning.
Okay, when Game of Thrones started in 2011, I think it was.
Yeah, and this was in 2012, so there was a big deal because I remember people were like, Sir Davos was when they found out that he was in there, so it was already happening when he was there.
To say it was at the peak of where Game of Thrones was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of the actors and actresses that are there are veterans of Boardwalk Empire and of Game of Thrones, which were both kind of in their peak at that point in their sort of runs. So, but yeah, so I know people are saying that there are situations where actors will sign on just because they don't need to get paid, and that's true, 100%. But we're not talking. The actors who were signing on, I don't think were being signed on because they were like, I need money. No. This feels more like they were signing on because of either Chris Roberts, because of the producers who were involved with Chris Roberts, who they had known, because they had experience with, or the agent was pretty good with, or because Mark Hamill vouched for them, because it's clear that Mark Hamill was very passionate about this project and still very passionate about this project. So
it's not like this thing is The Swarm.
No.
Which is an amazing movie. It's a horrible movie, but it's an amazing movie about killer bees that are going to take down a nuclear power plant. And it stars Michael Caine, of all people, when he was in his It's a Living phase of acting.
Yeah.
That was before he, got big again.
The Prestige.
In his later,
Was that a TV movie?
The Swarm?
Yeah. Is that the one that ends where they bring all the bees into a stadium and cool them off with an air conditioner or something?
Oh, I don't know.
And this is probably before your time, actually. You're a young
Yeah, it was definitely. But that's just one of those things where you have a name such as Michael Caine. Is he a sir at this point?
I think so.
Yeah,
I imagine.
Yeah, but at that point he was in his It's a Living stage of acting career.
Yeah.
I have to make a mention of Andy Serkis.
Yeah, because he's there too. And it was his studio.
I got to tell you, this was something really cool. I was traveling back from vacation a couple weeks ago. We were flying through Heathrow, and we saw him at the airport. We got a picture with him.
Oh, nice.
And I was too starstruck at the time to actually ask him about Squadron 42. I'm like, just shaking his hand and acting like an idiot. And after the fact, I'm like, oh, I asked. I would have probably impressed him with the obscurity.
But it's amazing. Like he may maybe ask you, well, like, what do you know him from? Is it from Lord of the Rings, or is it Planet of the Apes?
Yeah.
No, I know he as Thul Okurai. And just out of left field.
And have him just kind of split there, like, wait, what? Oh, right, that, yeah.
That, yes.
For those who
forgot about that.
For those who know, Andy Serkis is the model for all of the Vanduul. He invented how the Vanduul's body language and their movement. So if you see the Vanduul moving, that was he invented that, and then all the other actors who were doing the Vanduul kind of learned from his movements. So a lot of those.
Does he do the voice of the dude too?
Mm-hmm. He's the voice of the main Vanduul in there. So
he's second in command to the. I think.
Don't
Patrice
give it away.
No. This was all told in the behind the scenes stuff. Patrice is the head of the clan, and I don't know his name, his character's name, but
he's number 2.
Plays second in command, called Thul Okurai. But he's probably the most prominent bad guy, just because the head of the clan has to deal with the clan. Second in command goes after you. Yeah. So
I get it. So I will say, when we're talking about the main question about if Squadron 42 fails, hey, there we go.
Hey,
nice. If Squadron,
there we go.
If Squadron 42 fails, my big thing is, I don't think if it's make or break. I do think it takes a hit, but I think there's 2 ways. I think if Squadron 42 comes out and it's buggy, CIG might take a hit, but they may also recover, because the one thing that CIG has that other companies don't is that CIG can afford to keep Squadron up for a while. Unlike other companies where they have to make all of their money back within the couple weeks, otherwise their publishers are going to pull from them, or all these other things. CIG doesn't have that restriction. They're going to be around making Star Citizen for the foreseeable future as long as they can make money. And they're doing okay. I'm not saying they're making money hand over fist. They're doing okay in terms of, if you look at their financials, they're making a profit, not much of a profit, but a profit.
It is slowly, constantly going up. Like this
Mhm.
year's September was the best September for funding on record,
Yeah.
and considering how hyped up for Squadron CitizenCon is, October is looking really good as well.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, they're going to sell the Polaris probably at CitizenCon, right?
IAE possibly, but
Or
it's also
IE, yeah.
it's definitely gonna be available at IAE. So
That's going to be a money printer right there.
yeah. So they're doing okay, and I think if Squadron 42 releases and it doesn't do great, as long as they can improve it and as long as they can fix the problem and release it, it has the chance of rebuilding up and being like, hey, it's good now. Come back and play it.
I still feel like they gotta have a good first impression on it. But.
Yeah.
Mm.
I agree, but I think I don't think it flops personally, but it's a good question to ask because it is a huge problem. Like because I think a lot of it rides, a lot of Squadron 42, a lot of Star Citizen rides on Squadron 42 because the inverse, if Squadron 42 is like a hit, and I mean, of course, we talked about different versions of a flop, different versions of a hit, being like, what if Squadron 42 is okay versus good versus like some amazing, game of the year release. I'm not saying it's going to be that, but if it ends up being that, what does that do for Star Citizen? So I'll start with you on this one, Andy. Like in any of those sort of categories, what happens to Star Citizen if Squadron 42 does well?
If it's game of the year, I'm like taking out my wallet, buying every shit that comes out. Obviously, it's gonna really bring in a lot of new people from outside the game who aren't currently in the culture. Like there's obviously the diehard nerds. I've been around since 2012. There's a lot of people who've been out and stuck with the game, all these years. There's obviously a lot of new people coming out because we're all kind of bragging about it to our friends, and there's a lot of really cool, stunning videos that come out, and that is part of the marketing, behind Star Citizen and Squadron 42 in the first place. That was the smart marketing, grabbing people's attention with these videos that are those are the things that lured us all in. It was the ship commercials that got me involved back a long time ago. So if they're really successful, it's going to blow up, I think, for Squadron 42. I think it's inevitable that there's going to be people who, if they enjoy Squadron 42, will want to get into the MMO aspect of it. I know there's a lot of people who say that they're just single player type people, they're not really into MMOs, but if they do a well enough job creating this universe that that Chris has invented, and find a good way to make you really feel a part of it, and arguably that's been his mission, to make you feel immersed in it. If they're successful at that, then they can they'll lure in people who might have not even been originally looking for an MMO. So there's that. Yeah.
Okay, Darsh, same question. Like in any level, if it's okay, if it's good, like good or great, or the game of the year, what does that do to Star Citizen?
So I've been thinking about this for several years, like a long time. Like how successful is Squadron 42 potentially going to be on release? And it never crossed my mind that it would be like the best game ever, just because it is in a niche, right? It has a very limited sort of target audience, but then the gaming industry has been so flooded with live service games and battle royale games and arena fighters and multiplayer this and multiplayer that people are so starved of a good story-driven single-player narrative that a game I hadn't even heard of before it came out became one of the best selling games of the decade. Like the Tales of Wukong just came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And just destroyed everything.
Destroyed sales and play statistics. People just going everywhere for basically a Soulsborne.
If CAG plays it right and markets it properly, it has the potential to completely blow everything out of the water that I thought were possible, because I've been around since 2013. I still consider it a niche, very, very specific thing that only I'm interested in. Doesn't matter how many millions of accounts have been created since. I'm the target audience, only me. But it's kind of possible, and I hope they've been paying attention to what sort of marketing and what sort of games have been successful, and what sort of games and marketing has been a flop recently in terms of games. It'll never be as popular as GTA 6 or Battlefield, but you know, there's a potential to be better than what I've always thought it would be. And I hope it is, because that means more money, more employees, more resources to make chapters 2 and 3 even better than what we've we've gleaned, which is just subtitle for now.
Yeah.
But what we've gleaned chapter 1 to be.
Or book 1, whatever. Like I hate Chris's insistence on like the different versions. Just name them something like Squadron 42, Heart of the Empire, that kind of thing, and Squadron 42.
Just don't do Squadron 43.
Exactly. Yeah, Jacob New Trades is bringing this as well. Like I bring this up and I do it, and a lot of people think I'm going crazy and I'm copiumed out, which is like, I do think that Squadron 42 has the potential to be Baldur's Gate 3. This year's Baldur's Gate, or next year's Baldur's Gate 3, I should say, because it's not coming out this year. Because Baldur's Gate, I'm a D&D nerd, so like I knew Baldur's Gate series for a while, and I was like, when I heard Baldur's Gate 3 was going to come out, I was like, okay. Baldur's Gate 2 is okay, but it's like didn't it come out in like 90s or early 2000s? Like it's very isometric, very low graphics. Like it's not really impressive for modern day. And I'm like, it's going to be another one of those neat games. And I think the company that made Baldur's Gate 3, Lyrian, also made basically a spiritual successor to it with I forgot the name of it, but it's Pillars of Eternity, I think, or something like that.
Destiny, I think.
Pillars of Destiny, or something like that. It wasn't. Yeah.
Chat will know.
Yeah, chat will know. So it's Pillars. Yeah, and so I was like,
it is Pillars of Eternity. Yeah, but there's something about Destiny.
There's two versions. I think there's two games, but I was like, it's that. Like I played them. Like they're neat, but like. Not my style. And then when Baldur's Gate 3 finally came out, and with all the cutscenes and the voice acting and the decisions, Divinity. Thank you, Divinity. Mook got it right. Yeah. It's Divinity. And when that came out, I was like, wow, this is above and beyond what I was expecting. And I think that's really the key: is you expect a game, and if it comes out and it exceeds your expectations in terms of what it's giving, you will give it more of a chance and even give it more of a leeway than if it was a game that comes out that you're like, I am super expecting this to be very good, and it flops. Like if Cyberpunk had, or if they had set proper expectations for No Man's Sky, then I don't think people would have nearly as mad about No Man's Sky's original release. They just set the wrong expectations.
You raise a very valid point. It's all about where the bar is set.
Yeah.
But it was something we've also learned from a particular movie Baldur's Gate 3, the story, if you look at it, not that original, not that planned out, but what it has in spades is, let me just get this thing right. That's what it has.
Yeah. Presentation. Yeah, it has the right je ne sais quoi, the chutzpah. It has the right feel
the
to
thing
it.
to grab you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it has a hook. So they need a hook. And hopefully they have.
Do you think the hook could be that it's a huge, ginormous open world that you can actually go everywhere on it? Like, we take it for granted because we've been playing it for so long, but what about people who've been outside, even people who've been playing Skyrim, where it does seem kind of real, but everything in the distance is kind of Starfield.
That is
loading screen simulator.
Right.
That is the hook of Star Citizen, but the problem about Star Citizen is it has so many negative connotations, and CIG also doesn't really have a lot of stuff built into it. But Squadron, they have the opportunity to show a completed game with a story in
Yeah.
that universe. I don't think it's going to be I don't think it's supposed to be this massive open world experience. It's much more focused. I wouldn't say linear because I don't think CIG is developing it as linear. It's more like map based, as it were, like objective here, go complete objective, and you can approach it, and CIG is using the open world that they've developed as a tool to get to that, but not necessarily where you can go anywhere sort of thing. And I think because Squadron 42 is basically unknown, like outside of this circle, if you're watching this, there is probably a high chance that there are people who have been following Star Citizen closely, who, when they watch this, they've been saying for the last 5 minutes, being like, or last 45 minutes, being like, "What's Squadron 42? What are you talking about?" Like, because every single time I've brought it up in the past, there's been at least a handful of people who have no clue what Squadron 42 is, who are Star Citizen players, because
That's
not
a fair
everyone
point.
knows.
Well,
so
for that matter, everybody who does know about Star Citizen, I can understand why a gamer would be not even familiar with Star Citizen. They're going to be much less familiar with Squadron 42.
Squadron 42, and so I think
especially because you can't buy it right now.
Yeah, and I think that is its secret,
for whatever reason. Yeah.
That's its secret power, is that there is no expectations for Squadron 42 except for people like us, because nobody knows it exists.
Yeah.
And I think that is the potential for the success of Squadron, is that it shows up, nobody knows it exists. If it's decent and it hits the right place, like, Baldur's Gate is fun and it has got a lot of interesting gameplay, and it's pretty long. It's got interesting characters, but it was never I don't think Baldur's Gate was ever something that was like innovative. Everything that Baldur's Gate 3 did has been done before. It's just the scale and scope that they've been doing. What they did was the important part. It's like, hey, there's this free open world. It wasn't really free open world. It was still linear, but you had more, like, choose how to accomplish this goal in 15 different ways. In some cases, you don't even have to fight anybody, kind of thing. And ironically, that seems to be what CIG has done with Squadron in terms of the way they've talked about the level design. Like there's that one preview they did of one of the stations they were building for Squadron, and the way they were talking about it is you can accomplish your goals at the station in any way possible. So they were building the entire station out with rooms and corridors, fully fleshed out, so that you could approach it in any different way you wanted to and still accomplish that mission. And I think that's
the full open world aspect I was talking about, that you can do and go everywhere.
And that sort of thing is where the potential, I think, lies, is that Squadron 42 could succeed because it doesn't have a lot of expectations for the average public. So if it does better than those expectations, which are 0, it will do well. And if it does even better than that, if it manages to do, like I said, like an 8 out of 10 game, I think it will explode the popularity of Star Citizen and probably fund the game long term.
That's why I come back to the issue of it can't be a negative experience.
Yes.
It can't be bad. It can't be buggy.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned that you think they can kind of recover from that, but I'm afraid that will just drive more people away and validate all the people who've been complaining and bitching about it in the media for so long.
Yeah.
At this point, it's clear to say that Squadron has been in the polish phase for about a year now, right?
Yeah.
That's about the same time that they gave Starfield.
Yeah.
That game needed more.
Yeah.
A lot more.
Apparently, I haven't played the most recent update, but the most recent update, a lot of people who played it have enjoyed it. Like the change they've updated, they've improved it significantly compared to what it used to be with the latest update.
Good.
Which proves that
how long has it been?
It's been about a year.
It's been about a year.
So that's the point. The problem. It's like, it could have used another year in development is the answer, but
and hopefully, they need a polished example, and I think that is the reason why we haven't been able to buy it. Well, I own it. I own several copies through all my purchases, but new people haven't been able to buy it because someone said that you're not allowed to sell a product video game or software without a
Release date?
solid release date.
I don't know if that's still the case or not, because that's been the rumor that's been floated around, but it's not. It's never been confirmed that was the case. The only thing we've heard from CIG was that they were removed Squadron from the store because they were doing a price change, and then we haven't heard anything since then.
But it's been a while.
It's been.
What about Dune Awakening and Ashes of Creation? Are they selling the game, or are they just kind of still?
They're selling
it.
They're selling it.
Okay. Neither one of those has a release date, right?
This is true. Yeah, every game that's released as early access on Steam doesn't have a solid release date.
That's the question. But the thing is that Squadron
Falling Frontiers just entered chat. I've been waiting that thing for 2 years now.
But I don't think, I think you can play it. So yeah, there's some questions about exactly what happened, but
because you can't play Squadron. Yeah,
you can't play Squadron. So there's a lot of things there, but no one really knows because CIG hasn't clarified as to why they did it.
CIG not clarifying something?
What? To be very clear, I think that they wanted to start selling it again at CitizenCon last year, but they chose not to because they were concerned about the presentation that Squadron 42 would give. Because Chris even walked on stage and said, "We have a release date. I'm not going to say it though because I don't want to like miss it and then screw everything up." So
at least he's learned that.
Yeah,
but
so it was one of those things where they had a
legally
plan.
that's just gonna bite him in the ass. Maybe legally it's just fine if you say you have a release date and then miss it by 5 years.
Yeah. So yeah. Let's go on to the other thing, which is the release of Squadron 42 itself. How much does the time at its release does Squadron 42 need? Because I've brought this up a lot of times. Because right now, the implied release date, there has been no, I'm going to be very clear. I have to say this because people will not get what I'm saying. There is no release date for Squadron 42. There is zero. Nothing has been said since 2016 that they were going to release, and they blew past the 2016 date. So they have never, since 2016, set a hard and fast release date of exactly when it's going to happen. They've made they've said, oh, it's gonna, we're working on it, we're getting close to it, we think it's gonna come around this time. They've made those sorts of non-committal suggestions in an IAE or not IAE, a Star Citizen Live and stuff like that. They've, we're getting closer. Weasel words, stuff like that. They haven't officially said, yeah, it's gonna come out on October 7th, 2024 or whatever. Like they haven't said those words specifically
2 days from now.
Yeah. That they haven't said those words specifically since 2016. And so as a result, when I say that Squad 42 is coming out in 2024, I am not saying that that's what CIG has said or confirmed, because I have to be very careful, because some people don't listen. They just sort of assume, and then they spread misinformation and then get mad at the people who said their words in the first place.
Space tomato.
Yeah.
I need a JRDF hat, I just realized.
So the question is, with the release date of Squad 42 potentially being next year, and GTA 6's release date potentially being next year, with there's a possibility that both of those games will release close to each other, which I think is bad. So that brings the question: is when Squadron 42 releases a factor in how well it will do?
So I'm a bit naive on that. When is GTA 6
I just
coming
realized
out?
something.
What's that?
Ain't no way GTA 6 releasing on PC in next 2 years.
I will say this though, as I've said many times before, it doesn't matter what GTA 6 is releasing on. When it releases, it's going to suck the oxygen out of the room. Every media franchise that exists even outside of video games is going to get affected by its launch, because anything that relies on word of mouth and slow build things like a new IP would, is going
to
to
get drowned out.
It's going to get drowned out by all of the noise about GTA. I wouldn't release a movie
even there's no platform cross.
Even if there's no platform cross, because it's not really about will they get sales. It's do people know it exists, and with the ads running, the ads and the people talking on social medias and people doing videos. It's going to be very difficult to get the attention of potential
GTA 6
buyers.
definitely having the primary Superb Owl ad.
Yeah, exactly.
And no way Squadron is getting that.
No.
So yeah,
when do they have an expected release date for GTA 6?
They had said
it was pushed back recently.
Last I heard it wasn't. But it's one of those. Jason Schreier came out and said that like there is no evidence that it's been pushed back. It's just that they're going to look at it in March, or something like that. There's some clarification on that, but it was posted that it was going to come out in 2026. Or 2025. 2025.
Let me ask you a qualifier, because you made a specific mention to say that there's no way GTA 6 is going to come out on PC.
Mm-hmm.
Are you trying to say that if it comes out on a console
in
before
the next
then?
2 years.
The next 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that was my point. If it comes out,
Rockstar has a history of releasing games on console at least 1 year before they come on PC. GTA 5, Red Dead Redemption 2. We're only getting Red Dead Redemption 1 this year, and it's like 10 years old at this point.
But do you feel that just because it's only on console, do you think that's going to spare Squadron 42? So like if they do release GTA 6 during the summer of next year on console?
I don't think so personally. That's the thing. That's what I'm worried about. I'm worried that it will suck the attention.
They're gonna get a lot of air, suck a lot of oxygen out of the room.
Because people Paul is right. People whinge about Squadron, Star Citizen, taking $700 million to develop, but I have a feeling that Rockstar is going to spend at least that much money just on marketing.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you, Paul. You're about to get to this point. Was the question of when is a good time for it to come out?
Yes.
Obviously, it's got to come out not around GTA 6, but it's got to come out after it's had enough time to cook.
Exactly.
And so they announced that it was in polish last year at last year's CitizenCon. So a year ago.
Yeah.
I personally question whether or not a full year is enough to bake fully and get all the bugs worked out and get everything. And based on some of the recent
you went out
Squadron 42 monthly
Paul
reports.
And I talked about this.
Yeah, some of the recent Squadron 42 monthly reports, the stuff they're talking about, seems to me to give me the impression that there's still too much that they're working on that means it still needs more time to bake. I would say at least totally guessing here, like another 6 months or so would be nice.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe I'm wrong, and maybe they have a leg up on this stuff, and they've been further into it than they're leading on, and maybe we'll find out in a couple weeks. But bugs and running testing a game at scale requires a lot of effort and a lot of time, and I question. I feel skeptical as to whether or not they've had that kind of exposure for the game. Whether they've really been able to put it out, run it through its paces, and knock out all the bugs. That is my biggest fear about its failure. Still, I come back to that.
Bugs.
Because it's just going to validate all of the negative press they've had for years, and that is a huge hurdle that they have to clear.
Historically, it's been the holiday season that was the most profitable for big games to release, and I have a feeling that GTA 6 is going to target
the trend.
that.
Yeah,
follow the trend. Target that sort of holiday season next year. So if they can beat it by a couple of months with good marketing, potentially they can. It would be beneficial to them, just because a lot of people will be in the preparing themselves for the GTA 6 launch.
Yeah,
but there will be a vacuum. They will need something, and if it's in a good enough spot, Squadron 42 bug wise and development wise, it would be very beneficial for them to release it into the run up to GTA 6 releases, just because a lot of people just want something, so they will
Yeah.
get that,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
then when GTA 6 releases, there's going to be a huge drop off.
Yeah.
So here's a $1 million question. I think we could argue that CIG has a pretty good marketing team just because they've done really well at marketing ships and JPEGs to people. Do we feel like they are on board enough, on the ball enough to know about all this and plan accordingly?
I think they do, but I also think that marketing doesn't have enough sway on the release schedule to matter. I think it's definitely a question that's being brought up. Like personally, I think the best time to release it is June.
That's what I was thinking.
June or August. Those two months are perfect months to release because June, you're rarely going to see much, if any, games release around June because July is the desert. January and July are the desert of game development because January, nobody has any money to buy games, and it's not really like a really incentive to buy it. I think POW World came out in January, which was a unique factor compared to other places. And of course, July is because people are playing the game called IRL, going out and touching grass because it is nice outside typically. And even no matter where you are in the hemispheres, July is that middle of the year, so it's either sunny or just getting cold. So it's like, yeah, nice to be outside a little bit more. So,
what about school breaks? Does that play a role in it at all?
Yeah, but the thing is,
June,
this is June, yeah, but July is typically that, like, it's in the school break. Usually it is school break, but usually those kids are doing like summer camp and stuff like that. And with this game, so I think June is a good window for them because there are a couple games that have released in June, like Overwatch. The original Overwatch released in June and did really well because there was nobody around to compete with them. And of course, Baldur's Gate 3 released in August, which no one else was around really. It was kind of right before, at the very beginning of the hype, and so that really helps you kind of give you distance from anything that's big that's going to come out. So,
what's in lore a good event to base the release around?
I mean, Invictus.
The Battle of Vega is October 9th, right?
October 5th.
5th, right?
Yeah. So it is today.
So 2 weeks before CitizenCon. Oh shit. You're right.
Pour one out for the homies who died in Vega.
I was just thinking, there's Chris and the company probably has some insider awareness as to what GTA 6's release date could be. That could play a role in them. They're not totally disconnected from the industry. They may have some kind of insight as to when it's going to come out and try to plan accordingly.
I do think the biggest issue is that's the elephant in the room. Because I'm also wouldn't be against CIG releasing Squadron 42 in June of 2026.
I'm gonna be dead.
He'd be dead in 2 years?
Yeah, he's already over 50. He's on his way out.
I'm on borrowed time, dude.
How's your hip?
My knees, really, but
I think that's the key. The key is it has to release either, but I think it's also a matter of it needs more time. It needs more time, and I think whatever CIG releases, whatever they say is the release date, they're gonna blow past it. Like we're gonna get like another between 2 weeks and 6 months beyond that time because I have not seen a AAA or even large game that is released that hasn't blown past or had to add them.
So I have to challenge you on that because number one, they know giving dates is a big critical thing to worry about. But number two, they don't have a big old studio telling them when they have to release it. They could literally wait until they are absolutely 100% sure and get it right and impress the industry.
But the problem is they have to start the marketing push. Hello, camera.
You're back.
Yeah. They have to start the marketing push several months before that. Let's say 4, 5, 6 months before that, and they have to start that date based on their projected date. But if they're late, every day they have to continue marketing a game that keeps moving forward and forward is costing them money. So
yeah.
Once they start the the marketing campaign, the release date is pretty much kind of set in whetstone. Whetstone's pretty hard. Sandstone. There we go.
Sandstone, yeah.
So not completely stone, but still a bit of push. It still has to be around there. Yeah.
So yeah, and Sorry, I'm seeing there's a bunch of people in chat who are saying that Squadron 42 is going to be mediocre and broken, and they're going to just abandon it and work on Star Citizen. And I always love when armchair developers who come in saying like, I've got 30 years of experience and you have no idea what you're talking about. And it's like, neither do you, because you don't work for CIG, so you don't know anything the inside information. So
doesn't matter how good it is. I will play a good sci-fi single player story driven game until my fingers.
What I'm saying.
I bought a VR headset just so I could play Half-Life Alyx.
Yeah,
the bar is
and
low.
I played it 3 times since.
Even if it's mediocre, all the people who are into Star Citizen right now will still enjoy it and still play it.
Yeah, I think that's the case. And I think the question really becomes, though, how much of an effect will it have on Star Citizen? And I think we've all kind of collectively said that it's not going to have a major effect if it fails, but it has the boons outweigh the negative effects. If it fails, it will hurt, but it won't be the end of CIG. If it succeeds even minorly, it will improve, it'll increase sales, and it will also probably increase the visibility of Star Citizen. So,
but yeah, they have to. Unfortunately, all the marketing that we're going to see will not be aimed at us, the people who know about Squadron 42. It will be very much aimed at new people.
I hope so.
Yeah. It will have to be.
All of us nerds are already going to know about it. They don't need to advertise.
Yeah, exactly. We've already given them money. We're already going to play the game, so we're good there. They need.
I've given them my blood.
They need new people. Yeah,
they need new people. Yeah, and one of the ways that to get new people is with a demo. Yeah. And I hope that's the point of the. Well, I'm talking about it like it's confirmed, like with playable chapter 1.
It's not confirmed yet. It was, and we'll kind of go into that as well. Which is we'll talk about this before we get into the question and answer session, because we've been talking for a good time. Which is
it'll be a short call.
Short chat. Well, to be fair, I also stepped away for like 5-10 minutes, so I don't know how much is that. It's probably going to be about an hour.
It was about 2-3 minutes, not more.
It's good conversation. Valid stuff to talk about.
Well, we will talk about this in the question and answer session, because this is something that's kind of related to Squadron 42. Is the news what we've been alluding to is the article that was released by Gamer Insider, or Insider Gaming, I think is what it's called, Insider Gaming by Tom Henderson, I believe his name is, who's one of the big game investigative journalists in the industry, and he came out with an expose talking about CIG making mandatory 7-day work week for the next 2 weeks for people working on CitizenCon stuff. And also mentioning some things around Squadron 42's development. And one of those was about, the reason why we mentioned this, because one of those things was mentioned, that's they're working on for Squadron 42, or for CitizenCon, is a demo of Squadron 42 Chapter 1. It was very specific demo of Chapter 1 for Squadron 42, which could be a just stage demo, them going kind of playing through Chapter 1 so people can see it on stage. Or, given the likelihood of how CIG has been doing this, which is every year they do some sort of on-the-floor demo for people to play. In 2018, it was the new flight model at the time. In 2019, it was Theaters of War. And 2023, it was... 2023, it was...
Wasn't there?
Yeah, you were.
What was it?
It was Pyro Playground.
I was...
Was that LA?
I wasn't...
Oh, you weren't there at LA?
I wasn't there.
Oh, okay. No. Yeah, 2023 was the Pyro Playground.
It was the first Citizen kind of missed.
Yes.
So given their history, there will be a playable
sort of playable demo. Yeah.
Some sort of playable demo, yeah.
And so
Raider Ranger has more likely gone to check up on
the puppies.
Aging puppy, yeah.
But that brings up another thing about the legal issues and the other issues around what CIG is doing, which we will as a panel, we'll talk about in the question and answer session, because it doesn't really connect to what our discussion was, but we'll start that. So this is a little bit of a tease. So if you got this far in the video after the fact, after we've released it separately, then you're going to have to come back and watch the question and answer session to get those questions answered. But for right now, thank you to Radar Ranger and the just
And blank
died
screen.
blank screen Darionator for coming on and hanging out and talking with us. Make sure you check out My Radar. It's a great app. I use it myself, especially with all these weird weathers we've been happening. And of course, jrdf.sc to check out these wonderful model kits for Star Citizen. So,
and again, we just released a newsletter today, so to announce officially, even though I've been talking about it unofficially for a while, that we are taking pre-orders for the 1-to-100 kit of the Saber Raven, the base Saber Raven, not the two new variants that have recently come out, but the base Saber Raven, and also some other things that I'm not allowed to talk about that I could say. They're just like, but you know.
oh, really? You're talking about?
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm jealous. I have no idea how to do that.
Anyways, with that, we're going to be kind of calling this to an end. We'll move over to a question and answer session. So if you're watching us live, hold on, make sure you ask your questions in chat. There's a kind of special way I'll kind of go for that in a moment. But if you're watching this after the fact on YouTube, if you enjoyed this, hit that follow button. Or hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon to be notified of release. And if you enjoyed it, hit the like button. It's always good to do that. And of course, comment down below your thoughts on any of this. Do you think we're all just smoking the copium when it comes to some of these things? Do you think that Squad 42 is destined to fail no matter what? Is it going to be good? Is it somewhere in between? Always want to hear your thoughts down below. And until then, like I always say, hope to see you someday in the black.
Is that a joke about my camera cutting out?
Yes. All right. So, chat, if you want to ask questions, go to hit the little pub coin icon. And yeah, you're good. Oh, we're going to take a few minutes to use the restroom, do other things. Go do that. To hit those, hit the bell icon. Hit the what is it called? The coin, and hit the captain's table, the captain's table question thing, and you just type in your question, it'll be put up there. And if you're on YouTube, do your best to ask a question with question brackets. I'll try to go back and answer some of the questions if I can. Yeah, I'll be right back. Alter, no, we're going to come back here in a few moments. I'm just, we're just making sure everything's good. And we're back with the question and answer session with Darionator and Radar Ranger. Darionator from JRDF.SC and Radar Ranger from MyRadar. Both big fans of Star Citizen content in general. If you missed it, we had a discussion on, is the impact of Squadron 42, if it's successful, or about like how much of an impact will it have on Star Citizen? We had a good discussion, and I think we ended off that discussion by discussing the recent expose written by Tom Henderson about Star Citizen CIG's internal work structure, and it was there's been some questions about it, and I do want to have a little bit of a discussion before we get to the other questions, because well, I'll just start off with this. I'll start with you there, Andy, on this one. Is it concerning that CIG is doing 7-day mandatory work days? Is that something that's a problem in your opinion?
Nope, not at all. I mean, I think, and there's a bunch of reasons for that. First of all, it's kind of a common practice. Companies exist to work on things that people like to consume, and sometimes there are deadlines that are outside of your control, or you need a little bit extra from employees. And it's not like there's already been a lot of postings on Reddit from actual CIG developers who are kind of laughing a little bit, making light of the fact that everybody else is complaining for them, but they are just as passionate about this project as we are, especially the ones who are working on stuff that's going to be presented at CitizenCon in a couple of weeks. So most of these people are doing it willingly anyway. I think there's obviously been a history of negative press being awesome clickbait for the media. The media's been happy to take advantage of anything negative about CIG so they can get some eyeballs on their articles. But in reality, this is a kind of a common practice. It's a short-term thing. It's for a very specific event. They're being paid for it.
Yeah,
and they're getting comp time.
Yeah,
and most of these employees would be, are happy to do it. There may be some people who aren't, but I would say the vast majority of people who are working on this are just as passionate as we are, because they're creating it and they want to put it in the hands of people who are going to see it and enjoy it. They get off on having these conferences just as much as we enjoy watching them.
Oh yeah, and to be clear, they're getting paid in time off, so they're being paid in comp time for it.
Right.
But yeah, they are being paid for it. So there's somebody in the YouTube chat who's saying they're disturbed that they're not getting paid. They are getting paid. They're getting paid for it, which is toil in the UK. In the US, we call it comp time, which is basically, instead of you getting money, you get a day off, or something like that.
It's slightly different.
Yeah.
I already explained this before we went live, but I will repeat it now just for those who missed it. Now, before I say this, I will preface that nothing that any of us says on this show is legally binding.
I'm not a lawyer. None of us work for CIG.
No, none of us are. But this is how I understand the things going through this. In the UK and in Germany, I don't know about US or Canada, the employer has the right to raise an employee's work hours to 60 a week, provided they don't exceed 11 hours in a 24-hour time period, and that in the UK is 17 weeks, in Germany is 26 weeks, but they have that time frame to average that workload back down to what is legally mandated for a work week to have a maximum of. And I think it's 48 in UK.
48 hours?
40 and 48 in Germany, something like that.
Okay. So you broke up a little bit, but at the end, but basically it's as long as they reduce their hours.
So that is the legal. Yeah. So that is how the legal side of it goes, and I'm guessing whoever wrote that email just maybe does not have a perfect grasp of it, and also then the understanding on the other side of people who also don't have the perfect grasp of how the legal stuff is happening. Also don't. It's like a garbled telephone situation. So
Telephone game.
Yeah.
Yeah, telephone game. Yeah. So provided that CIG follows the rule of law, and actually balances out the employees' work hours towards the end. It could easily be done with just having 2-3 day weeks after CitizenCon.
Yeah.
And you balance out the 2 7-day weeks. But that is like the legal minimum.
Yeah.
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 And who knows how much above that CIG is willing to do. We don't know because we're not on the payroll, we're not on managing, we're not in HR.
Yeah,
nobody knows. All we have is someone saying they have access to a leaked email.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is that it's access to a leaked email. We don't have the context of what's going on. We don't know what the legal requirements are. The stuff that is important to note, which are important to look through, is that one of the things that they said specifically, the stuff that I think was a little bit more questionable, is the one that he talked about in July, where he got an email from July, which is the one he didn't quote as much from, which says that they were going to get paid in time off. And while there are some people in chat who are saying that it's not time off, I disagree vehemently. That's just a personal opinion. When you get paid in time off, it's still time off because you're still getting paid time. Like my wife would every so often will work overtime, voluntary overtime, because they will give her more extra hours of vacation if she works those times. And she's like, I'm not doing much on the weekends anyways. So if I'm doing something on a weekend, other than she's a writer, so she does, writes and plays video games and does other things like that if she wants to. But she's like, if I don't have a lot of things to do, I'll take it. And they have time available. I'll take it so I can take more time off, so I can take a day off later. And to a lot of people, that's more valuable because you're still getting paid. You're getting paid during that time. That's the key. It's just not overtime. And that's going to be up to the individuals. But that email that was sent in July was basically said you couldn't use the time off until after Squadron was released, and you couldn't get it when it was if you left between then and the release, you'd forfeit it, which I think is still some legal issues.
That could be a bit that could be a bit sketchy.
That gets out of the whole legal thing, which as was also confirmed in chat, is 17 weeks for UK and 26 for Germany. And I say 17 weeks, that is 4 months or 6 months, but it's counted in weeks because it applies to weeks of workforce. Or work hours.
We have a law in the States that if you leave, you have to collect you have the right at least to collect all of your pay on your last day. So anything you're still owed, you get that.
Yeah.
So that there's probably some gray area with that.
Yeah.
I would be very surprised if this is such a huge oversight for the legal team at CIG.
It would be. But the big thing was that a lot of people were talking about was the whole thing where it's like you can only work a total of 48 max. You can work 60 hours, but it has to be brought down and it has to be averaged out to about 48 hours.
Averaged out, yeah.
Over 17 weeks. So that's a little,
17 weeks,
that's a little different. And that email was also said it was basically pre-approved, so you could just do it if you wanted to, rather than, forced to. Now there is a question of things like authority. If you're encouraged to work extra time, and it's your job, you might do it even if you don't want to, because you're being heavily encouraged to, kind of thing. And the gaming.
There have been stories of game studios just pointing the metaphorical gun to your head and saying it's your choice. Yeah. Right. To do.
But how long do those crunches work? Like, is 2 weeks in a excessive time to ask somebody to put that crunch in? If it's one thing, like you're trying to make a release date 3 months away and you ask everybody to work every weekend for that 3 months, that's probably driving things a bit hard. But
These
But
were voluntary.
if you look at reports out of
yeah.
BioWare and stuff, it's 6 months at a time.
Yeah.
yeah,
if
so
not
that's
more.
clearly, there's definitely. I'm certainly not saying that a game company. There are no game companies that abuse their employees
Yeah.
or treat them terribly. I just don't feel like this is one of those
No.
cases. I think it's being blown up a little bit too
I
much.
do. I
No,
do.
but as soon as the word crunch comes out, in terms of a leaked piece of
Internal
like a
document.
leaked email or the internal documentation, that all the game journals are just gonna jump on it just because rightfully so, they've been going after these huge game companies that don't care about the employee well-being.
Yeah. So I think there's some clarification there for sure. And there's definitely still some issues that I have with some of that stuff, but at the same time, when you explained it to me, it's like, oh yeah, the whole average out thing. I was like, okay, so I never really thought that the issue with working 7 days a week was really that much. My biggest problem with it is fundamentally it was mandatory, because at this point I figured, like, why would you have to say it's mandatory? Anybody who's working on something that's going to be this public in the short term should already want to work on this, because at its core, gaming is a passion. If you can do anything in video gaming, you can work for a ton of other companies that'll make a lot more money and a lot more stable in the long term. There are plenty of banks out there who would double over backwards to get some of the skills that video game developers have, because of just the kind of experience and the kind of like hardware they use and all sorts of things. There's lots of more lucrative jobs in software development than gaming. In fact, gaming is notoriously low pay in comparison, and because people take advantage of passion, So,
but we know that CIG employees are not low pay.
no, I mean they're average pay. They're still not paying high.
Well, considering most of them in the UK, I'd say they're above average.
But yeah, the general like vibe in the few issues I have come to things like that comp time, and then being like you lose it if you don't use it for a certain time. And also the issue around, like, why did you have to make it mandatory? Why is this coming out that it's mandatory instead of everyone, we're encouraging you to stay over time, we're going to give you breakfast, we're going to give you lunch? Because I think more people would throw it in if they thought it was.
Was the word mandatory in the original email?
It was in the original email. That's the thing.
In the States, anybody who makes a salary of a certain dollar amount, you don't have to worry. I say worry, that's a bad way to put it. You as an employer, you can have them work extra time. They don't have to get overtime or anything like that if they make a certain salary, because they consider them professionals. And I think the big issue here is if you're taking people who aren't necessarily being paid fairly for their job, and you're forcing them to. If you unfairly put somebody under that burden where they're going to lose their job, and I guess they assign some idea of comfort when you're at that professional level and you make past a certain salary range, so they give you the leeway to do those things. But either way, I don't know. I don't think that's a great way to go by.
Yeah. So there's definitely questions in there for sure. And I do think that it's still there, but I do think that people running around saying that this is 100% illegal and that CIG is abusing its employees, I think it's more nuanced than that. But
there's definitely, like I said, I'm only familiar with the legalities of with the legalities of the UK and German employee laws. I don't know about American and Canadian, and there's definitely a lot of Canadian people providing a lot of work for CitizenCon. So
honestly, the states are messed up enough that it's different by state.
Yeah.
So some states have.
So LA and so California and Texas are going to have different laws when it comes to
very different.
Very different. Yeah. But how was I going to say? In terms of so at least in UK and Germany, provided they compensate the hours, and that is what they said, that you will get time off,
Yeah.
paid time off, which is basically the balancing out of the average work hours, which is stipulated by law. But is that the only thing that CIG is providing for these people? Because we want our developers to be well taken care of.
Yeah.
And the legal minimum in many cases is really is the minimum.
Yeah.
And
That's the question.
And a lot of times we want the minimum, the stuff that they receive to be above the minimum.
Yeah. I personally, again, and I've said this in the office hours, and I'll say it again here. I've been a part of a teachers union my entire career as a teacher, and it has saved my ass so many damn times. So, and really helped with problems. So I've always been a supporter of unions, and I think if anything, I would rather to have employees be treated better by their employers, especially since they do all the work. So the concerning part for me through all of this is that someone felt like they had to the press to get any kind of movement done.
Clickbait, clickbait.
It's clickbait, but it's someone inside this company sent that to them.
Yeah.
And if they're sending stuff to people, it means there's somebody in the company who is not happy, and that is the problem. That's my problem. But in a
workforce of 1,300 people, you're definitely going to find
you're going to, even if you have a small percentage,
think they're entitled to just glide through everything without any sort of hard work being done.
Yeah.
Jenon.
That's just inevitable statistics, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody knows the full story. Nope. Tom Henderson potentially has the capacity, wherewithal, and connections to get to a lot more of what's happening than most of us.
From the sounds of things, he's currently in a deep dive looking through, and he's probably even. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if CIG developers are reaching out to him, being like, "Yo, I don't know what the hell this person's talking to you about, but this is not at all like what's going on." Because I know people who are at CIG who follow Tom Henderson, like know his work and follow him. So
I mean,
on the other hand, I've never heard of the person before this thing came up. So
likewise. I didn't know who he was. I wasn't familiar with his game. But then I looked at his background and I looked at his social media, and he has like 300,000 people who follow him on social media. And I looked at a lot of his stuff he's done in the past, and it's like, this guy's legit. This is not just a Kotaku, I read it on Reddit sort of article. This is a guy who is up there with Jason Schreier in terms of his investigative stuff.
No idea who that is either. So,
no.
But
me neither. Sorry, good. I don't feel so bad. I'm like, am I supposed to?
So you're comparing this person I've never heard of to another person I've never heard of.
Yeah.
So,
Paul's got a more. He's more versed in it than we are.
But
it's we hope that is blown out of proportion and taken out of context, and
I do feel like it's a much ado about nothing.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah.
Well, I mean, there just to point this out, there have been on Reddit and Twitter actual CIG employees kind of goofing on it and stating to the contrary.
I have known enough CIG employees that I know that CIG is passionate to the point of problematic. CIG developers will do work off the clock because they want to, not because they have to. And it's to the point where it can be a problem where the managers have to chase them home sometimes to be like, go home.
Yeah.
Take some time off.
They've admitted this on ISC and SCL. It's like the directors, the people who manage their teams, have to tell people, take time off. It's not important. Then again, it is that time of year where there is a deadline. So they need this amount of work to be completed. So the thing they're always so proud of, and they always run the demo live, they want it to actually not suck.
Yeah.
They don't want another red one.
No. And because it's an art. Like I was going to say earlier, it's like game development is an art. It's a collective art, but it's an art, and people put passion and intention behind it, and they have, I can't tell you. Since I started streaming, I've met a lot of developers who develop various games, and there are some for me, weird flexes, but to developers, it's like they spent hours, days, months of their life on like animations for a weapon reload, or for an animal. And like, they're like, I did that. And it's like, to your average person, it's like, whatever, it's just an animal. But like to them, it's like, I had to study the movements of gazelle, and I have so many freaking reference pictures. I have 700 megabytes of video in my file, that's like how they move. And I matched up the sequences one for one. And it took me 6 months to get it done, but it's out and now it looks great. It's like, all right, that's great. I didn't realize how passionate you are about the animations of an animal, but
Yeah.
and there's
Well
and that's
familiar with
that's and that can be a problem for normal stable life cycles, because people can get sucked into that. So CIG is not a stranger to that, and I just wish that CIG is harnessing that passion and not abusing the passion. That's the clue.
It would be wrong if they would be abusing that and taking advantage of it, because it is so easy to get taken advantage when you are a budding developer, very passionate about a thing that you want to prove yourself. You want to, something that you want you've been waiting so long to have something to, impressionable out there. And it is very easy for these higher ups to take advantage of that, and we just hope CIG isn't. Nothing that's come out makes me believe that's happening, because it is only about a deadline, not about taking advantage of someone. I hope so. If it turns out that it is, I will be one of the first people to get my torch and pitchfork. I've seen some people in chat saying that Raider and I are
white knighting,
white knighting, right now. But no, the problem is that the allegations that come up are unsubstantiated.
Yeah.
If something substantial evidence comes out,
The
that
thing
is a different story.
Really gets me is like I some of the stuff that we've already covered here tonight. There's so many employees at this company, even if there's a small percentage of them that are unhappy or don't like the job for one reason or another. That's kind of inevitable. And even if one of those people comes out, you're going to hear about it. I personally have seen plenty of CIG developers, current and former, talk about how great the company is, how good they care about, how much they care about the employees, and sure, there's been some bad stories, but the overwhelming majority of them talk about how the company is nice to work for and they think of their employees. And granted, we're in the nerd circles enough to the point where we would have heard these stories from the former employees. So if you don't have that, you're kind of, only hearing the negative stuff that comes out. But it's for that reason that I just think this is kind of blown out of proportion. It's not a matter of white knighting anybody. It's just the fact that, I've seen stuff to the contrary. This one story is not enough for me to make me think that they are slave drivers.
We'll move on from this, because there's obviously some people who are doing this. But I think the point that Darsh made is the correct one. While I think Tom Henderson is a good source based off of his past and what he does and where he is, the fact of the matter is that all we have is him saying that he has emails. He hasn't shown us the emails. We haven't seen the text of it. We haven't seen anything. We don't know the context of what the emails were about or what's going on. At one point he says things like pre-approved, which he seems to be indicating is some sort of nefarious thing, but I don't know. Pre-approved to me sounds like if it's
in the contract, like the legal stipulation that I mentioned that is provided in the contract, that is pre-approved.
Yeah.
It's not about the contract that CIG made you sign. It is the law for everyone in UK.
Yeah. So
yeah.
All right. I'm seeing a lot of folks in here saying this. All I'm saying, chat, and you're welcome to leave the chat if this is bothering you. What we're trying to say is that personally, I take this seriously to the point where I think CIG should do better. And I don't think Radar Ranger and Darge are saying, yes, abuse the employees for more stuff.
No.
they're
Definitely
trying.
not.
They're trying to take. There is obviously a nuance, and there's obviously some. There is more than just a dude said something online. We should all believe it, especially with there's no physical evidence of anything that's being said, other than yeah, we're working overtime. But like the idea that CIG works overtime isn't new news. CIG works overtime all the time. We've seen it happen before. So
Yeah, like we said, the directors have gone on record on ISC and SCL saying they have to chase employees out of the building with brooms because they want them to go home and
there are
sleep in
plenty
their
of Star
beds instead of
Citizen
under their
geeks.
desks.
Exactly. There are plenty of Star Citizen geeks who really love this game and were passionate about it, who are now employed by CIG.
Mhm.
You know, you can totally understand that there's going to be a lot of people who are willing to stay there and stick around and enjoy it, and because they want to see this thing through. I hope people aren't thinking that I'm just some asshole and being callous about it. You know, I mean, right now we have this hurricane coming, and it's headed for Florida. There's 3 people on this team that develop stories and video content about the progress of these things, and they're all voluntarily working through the weekend and will work extra hours during this thing. I need to make sure that they have enough time off, that they're not stressed, that they are fed properly while they are at the office, and that when this is all over, they have time to recover, because a stressed out, overworked employee is not beneficial to anybody. They're going to wind up hating the job and resenting it. And, you know, anybody who's got a large company okay, I don't want to, that's probably being too general, but there is a valid point to recognizing if you need to keep your employees happy, to make sure that they are putting out quality work that they enjoy and that they want to stick around. It is that employee's, you know, choice to stay with you.
Yeah.
And you have a responsibility to make sure that they enjoy that job. That's the way I view it. Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's
something
we've already talked about this for 20 minutes.
alluded to before.
Let's move
exactly. The legal minimum isn't good enough. They also have to provide good, and they use this word deliberately. And a lot of people will recognize it. A lot of people won't. Aftercare.
Yeah. Let's move on from this, because we're just getting into a spiral where it's like, you know, it's not worth talking about it. We talked about it, but I thought it was an interesting topic to bring up as well, because it does involve Squadron 42 specifically. And I will say the additional addition is that the interesting thing to glean from this unintentionally is that if CIG is giving comp time to work on Squadron on the weekends, and they couldn't get it until after the Squadron's released. If it's voluntary, then in order for someone to take that up, they would have to have an idea of when it was going to release, and probably sometime soon rather than sometime later. So that is definitely implying that CIG is releasing Squadron 42 soon, or they have a time frame upon which.
Was it focused on just the CitizenCon presentation? That's what I thought.
That was the 7-day mandatory ones. The one that there was one that was earlier that was sent out in apparently July, that said that they had been pre-approved for 12 hours of overtime. People have been pre-approved for 12 hours of comp time, so that they but they couldn't use it until after Squadron was released, and it was so. Anyways, I thought that was an interesting fact.
Chat, a lot of people aren't getting my reference, but okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's fine. Yeah. Chad, you're just not kinky enough. God damn.
All right. Gin and Tonic asks the first question. Quote unquote, if it's a buggy mess, flop in relatively recent history, both No Man's Sky and Cyberpunk 2077 suffered this flop, both which came back to really good games. Do you think Squad 42 might be able to do the same or not, assuming it happens? I think we talked a little bit about that. I think Andy said he didn't think it wouldn't be able to recover as much if it was a complete flop.
The thing about No Man's Sky is No Man's Sky didn't have the baggage of their history. They came out, everybody obviously had high expectations for it. They announced that it had all this capability, and it didn't. And they were almost like deceptively lying about it, you could say. But they, over the course of a year, managed to come out with update after update that they did not charge for. And that earned a lot of cred with the people who were playing the game. But they didn't have all this negative history behind it. Like CIG has, unfortunately, for better or for worse, years and years of press coverage that loves to berate them for being late, missing deadlines, and being a buggy mess. And if they go through and put out what is supposed to be a finished product, bugless, ready for release, they can't fall back on this. It's an alpha stuff anymore.
Mhm.
If they put out something like that drops the ball, I just think it's going to be more of a challenge to recover from that than No Man's Sky would have, because No Man's Sky did not have all that weight, the dead baggage from the previous several years.
Darsh,
What am I missing?
he's part of the chat.
Oh yeah, just someone's directing that question at me because they're in YouTube chat and don't have access to the.
We'll talk about that
the
next.
actual
'Cause,
coin. Spent.
yeah, we'll talk about that. But Darsh, same question to you. Do you think that CIG can have a squadron can have squadrons flop like 2077 or No Man's Sky and still come back?
No. People's patience, I believe, has run out with No Man's Sky and Cyberpunk. They have become a lot more ruthless when it comes to a reception of a game that's either unfinished or just unfortunately buggy. Just looking at what was it, Dying Light? No, not Dying Light, but there was some
we just talked about
asset
earlier
flip sort of thing.
The day before or something like that, or the day
before that one. Yeah,
after
that
or
one.
whatever.
No,
Yeah.
completely torn out by the community, just because the community is a lot more discerning that we give the hashtag gamers credit for. So they on average they will point in the correct direction. But Cyberpunk was the big one. They had a return to glory. It's fine now. No Man's Sky, I believe they could forgive just because there's so few people working on it. It's not a massive studio with 1,300 people.
It's what it's become is insane.
They have clearly made up for a lot of their missteps. Like, people really kind of get jazzed about that game, and they've released a lot of cool updates and content.
If Star Citizen had released back then, or Squadron 42 had released back then, to the same sort of level of polish as No Man's Sky, probably they could have gotten away with it. But it's been several years since, and I would think that people aren't as receptive to that sort of thing anymore. So they kind of need to get it working really well if they want a good reception, because anything other than good is not going to be good enough.
Okay. Yeah, I'm of the opinion that I think it can. I think it can, but mostly because I think CIG, because like unlike a game like the day before, or I think someone else is referencing maybe like the Days Gone, which I think was maybe what you were referencing. They're both zombie games, so I don't remember.
Very day.
Lots of day things fail for some reason.
It could be that it's just games with the word day in the title that are failing. Yeah.
Well, DayZ did okay, but that also had problems with its launch too. And I think that CIG is in a unique position where they don't have to rely on Squadron to succeed for them to stay open, because they're still getting they're getting paid.
We already
talked about that. Yeah. So I think they could buffer it and then fix it and then release it and then slowly work it out. So unlike a Concord, as we said before, like they had an option, they had a chance, and it blew up, and it just failed, tanked the whole company, kind of thing.
And nobody knows how buggy that game was.
Yeah, because nobody played it. But like, I don't think CIG. I think CIG has a chance. I would rather not. I don't think anyone would rather. But I think and some people are saying like, oh, the Star Citizen community is getting tired. I don't think Darsh was talking about the Star Citizen community. I think Darsh and Radar Ranger were talking about the gaming community. Like, gamers are less forgiving of completed games coming out as a mess. And rightfully so.
Yeah.
If you're paying $60, in some cases $80 to $90 to get a completed game, it better be completed, actually completed.
That's one of the points that I drill home with this, because of the unique situation with this game and the way that it's being developed. That is a tool and a plus, a tool they have in their tool chest and a plus on their side. They are not being forced to release a game by a studio before it's ready. So if they don't take advantage of that extra time, that flexibility in picking a release date to make sure that it is a bugless game that doesn't have the same issues that everybody, Cyberpunk and everybody had when they first came out with those games, they're wasting one of their advantages.
Yeah.
Is that a third by Radar hat?
It is. I'm doing a quick change.
He's just rubbing into Darsh's face because Darsh doesn't even have one JRDF hat.
No, I have a JRDF shirt, but I'll take a couple of those hats when I see you.
I will definitely I'll get some more made up. This one's yellow. This is from back in the day when we actually had it in the app.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's
so,
cool.
Little trick. See that?
Yeah, that's nice.
I had to point it out.
All right, so yeah, go ahead.
What are we talking about?
Let's move on. We were talking about how games with the title "day" in it don't do so well somehow.
Right? Yeah. No.
And release dates and bug free.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But like, people expect a game to be released and be done and be bug free.
Yeah.
To
be honest, that would actually shock the industry.
Yeah.
Because look at all the big games that have come out and have been a buggy mess, and it's almost like people have come to expect it.
Yeah.
That's why I got to drill that point home again. They have an advantage there.
If even Baldur's Gate had so many bugs, it's like do you realize that you weren't really supposed to romance your party members that easily? That was a bug that had their horny slider all the way to the max.
Sorry, I'm dealing with something.
But one thing I also wanted to mention is price of gaming. Price of games.
Yeah.
You said like $60 or even $80 or $90. How long has I hate the word, but I'm still not going to use it. Like a competitive, like high market game been at $60? Not counting for inflation.
Or you're asking how many games are $60 these days?
No. How many decades has it been since games have been locked to $60?
Yeah.
With inflation, always compounding everything else except games.
Yeah. Well, I don't like that argument. I hate that argument because games don't cost $60.
No, of course not.
Even when they were locked to $60, they weren't $60. They gave you a base for a cut down budget version. They gave you the non-sport package of a car.
Now you have exclusives and pre-order versions.
Which means you don't get the full game at $60. You get a part of the game that you then have to pay for additionally.
I hope
extras.
I really someone mentioned this in chat, but I really hope that CIG doesn't go down that route. They have a single version.
Yes.
For a single price. Full game no matter what.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. How much would you say a game is worth? Like would you gauge it by how many hours you were able to sink into it? And then then multiply it by how much you gauge.
I think it's much more abstract
an hour
than that.
of the time is worth.
I think quantifying it purely by hours is, I mean, you can play a bazillion hours of Starfield and be bored as shit.
Yeah.
So, pardon my French, but I don't know that hours alone is.
That's a good example. Starfield's like 100 games.
Zero word of French from that.
Yeah. But that's a good point. Starfield's a 100-hour game. And like, just because you can get through 100 hours doesn't mean that it's a 10 out of 10 game. Just because you have, it doesn't mean it's worth $100,
But there is some sort of price per hour of enjoyment that certain aspects of the entertainment market have carved out.
Mm-hmm.
Like you pay, in the States, I'm guessing it's about $10 per hour for a movie, and over here it's about $5. For music, it's much less than that. It's like you can buy an album for $20 and then listen to it for the rest of your life. So it's like a completely different scale. But for video games, if I can get like let's say €1 an hour of enjoyment out of a video game, I'm perfectly happy to do that.
I mean, this is kind of Trouble Magnet has kind of give a good one because it kind of jumped on top of this. Games have not increased in price, but distribution costs have plummeted, and the volumes of sold have gone up by orders of magnitude. Successful AAA profits have gone up by orders of magnitude as well. Are we still okay with price increases?
True. And that is an argument against increasing the base price of a video game. I completely understand that. Yes, just because inflation has increased prices of everything else around it. It doesn't mean that the price of games have to go up.
Do we want
to? But like I've spent almost 200 hours in Cyberpunk. I would say the original price I paid for it is well earned.
Oh, yeah.
But on the other hand, like I finished Portal 2 in 15 hours, and the price that I paid for
game
it,
was probably my favorite game.
Was completely justified and number of dollars per hour of enjoyment originally. You know, when I already thought my expense was fulfilled, is a lot greater. I've played hundreds of hours of Portal 2 since.
Yeah,
of course.
I played Titanfall 2 when it first came out for like $70, and it's one of the best games I've ever played. There's just the campaign alone is one of the best games I've ever played, let alone everything else that comes.
I haven't touched multiplayer.
Yeah,
but I've played.
Do we want to venture a guess as to how much they're going to charge for this?
That's a good question. I think CIG has a chance to sell it for $60 and be a strangely sell it to $60 and be a hero at $60. Because people's hearing, oh, a AAA game that has, you know, multiple hours of enjoyment, it's all single player, and it's just this big sweeping experience for $60, so, people would be okay with that.
But let me ask you the concept of perceived value. If you look for games on Xbox right now, if it's $4, you know it's probably not going to be a AAA game.
Yeah.
Do you think there might be like a $75 area that might find a happy medium there to give people the impression that it's a high quality game, yet not make people feel like they're being robbed, or that it's too expensive and too priced out of their price range?
I do think that CIG will do different versions, and I think the different versions will probably come with like skins or something like that, or some other things for Star Citizen.
For Squadron?
Yeah.
You know, I got
for like Marine Commander or something like that.
Somewhere I bought the collector's edition for Starfield, and it comes with, I don't know where the hell it is. It's around here somewhere.
Yeah, they come like physical merchandise.
Cool little suitcase. Yeah. I would love it.
And
that would be awesome.
A watch, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if mine came with the watch or not. I'm not really sure.
But like I think CIG could have.
I've been doing. So I got a smartwatch, a Wear OS smartwatch, and I've been doing faces, and I've actually recreated the Starfield. Yeah.
Look at that. So if CIG did something like that for Squadron 42, you know, shut up and take my money.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what you're talking
about. There's no chance of you bringing that to the Citizen Con, right? Wow.
Whoa.
Why don't you use that for your dances when
it's
when
a pain in the butt to get on.
Where did you get that thing?
So this is an example. This was like I paid $120 for Titanfall 2.
Holy, that is some serious kitsch.
Yeah. It also came with a schmog. You know, like the similar stuff pilots wear. So
that is cool.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, I think a lot of that stuff.
There is a helmet in Squadron that could potentially be used.
For CIG.
I know CIG.
I know people. All right, at CIG. If you know me with the helmets, you know
I will make it rain.
Yeah. Those sort of things are nice to sell. I think those definitely are going to happen with Squadron 42. Is they'll have like a $60 version, which is just here's the game, enjoy it, and like a $70 game, which has like, you know, a making of art booklet or something like, or the downloadable soundtrack that comes with it and stuff like that, and then the $120 bundle, which has like a model, like Gladius or something like that, like a diorama Gladius or something like that. So.
There's actually, So the package that I bought eons ago
Mhm.
has that. I think it's got like the downloadable soundtrack and some other
Yeah, yeah.
goodies, like blueprints or something like that.
Yeah, I think those as well.
Yeah. What game was that helmet for, by the way?
Titanfall 2.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Because I know you've been playing that.
I love that. I love that game.
I need to check it out. I just haven't had the time to kind of get into anything new. I'm a little bit worried about getting buried in another diversion, but it looks like a lot of fun.
The campaign is only about 6 hours long, so it's actually not very long campaign, but it's a really good, solid story if you're looking for it. So, all right. Next question comes from Del Ener, who asks, okay, let's assume Squadron flops. Do you think Star Citizen funding model could shift towards a more aggressive pay to win, according to the community model? Pay to win according to the community. Yeah. Do you think you could? I don't think they would. I don't think that gets them money.
Right.
Yeah.
That doesn't buy long-term player, what's the word? Long-term player value. It doesn't bring long-term customers in. Because in order for the game to be pay to win, where you buy these goodies, you'd have to have some longevity to it. If everybody buys the stuff and there's no reason for you to stick around, it's like, okay, I got a javelin now, I'm done. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being short-sighted, but
I agree.
I don't think that's to their benefit.
I don't think they even think of that either. I think, as I often say, I think a lot of what CIG does is out of a strange sense of ignorance rather than malice. Like, I don't think anyone at CIG is sitting there like clasping their hands, being like, "Yes, I'm going to wring every dollar out of backers' money," or like, the fucking peasants, they pay for our stupid ships. Let me smoke my cigar and do a line of blow off of this hooker's butt. Like, no one at CIG is doing that. At most, what CIG is doing is trying to maximize. Who?
You know
Chris?
who is? Kojima.
Kojima, yeah. Well, Kojima would do that as an art project because that's just Kojima's mentality.
No, because I've been thinking when I was taking a piss, I was thinking about like how could CIG expand on packages for Squadron 42, and I think that the only legitimate way they could do it is by adding stuff outside the game, like the helmet, that you have for Titanfall 2, right?
Yeah.
And I was reminded of the latest, the most luxurious package for Death Stranding 2. Contains watch, and it is
the watch.
$1,000.
Yeah.
Wow.
I looked into it.
Your camera's black again.
Looked into it. Oh, god damn it. So the chat will just have to do
that's fine.
with me being dark and
Oh,
broody.
you're back.
There we go. Yeah. The watch, I looked into it. It uses a $50 psycho movement and the automatic winder, which basically grabs the watch and rotates it. So the automatic movement can recharge the coil inside, because it is just automatic, spring loaded watch. That is just a $50 movement from Amazon in a new body, and they're charging $1,000 for it.
There's another.
So when I say Kojima is the sort of person who would
do something like that,
be doing that. Yeah. The stuff in Star Citizen has nothing to do. Is nothing compared to what's out there.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's a lot of options out there, and I think CIG is more looking for what's cool, and then also if they can make a little money off of it, rather than being like, oh yes, let's see how much money we can siphon from people. I think it's what is the Hanlon's razor? Don't equate malice, which you can be quote stupidity.
Which can be attributed to stupidity.
Yeah, that's why I live my life. It's often, especially with kids.
Rycops, I am aware that the Seiko movement that is good. It is quality. But buying it in bulk from Seiko is down to $30 a movement, and you're putting it in $1,000 watch.
Don't assume malice, which can be attributed to incompetence. Yeah, thank you. All right, let's move on to the next question, which is Fastcart, who asks, is anyone worried about the success of Squadron 42 because no one has played the previous 41 prequels? 100% confirmed. You're right. It's going to fail because, no one's played Squadron 41.
There's so much lore that you're not getting if you don't play the first 42 ones.
Yeah, it's just going to drop you in the middle of
it's
stuff.
It's kind of hard.
Yeah.
Kind of hard to get it if you just jump right into 42.
For some reason, that reminds me of the Fast and the Furious franchise.
Oh God!
It's on. They're on number 11 coming out soon. So
I've never watched any one of them, so I feel
20. It's 23 hours of content if you want to watch all of the movies.
I was actually thinking about Backdoor Sluts 9, but yeah.
With that, we're moving on. MPCDN asks, question, do you think us at home will be able to play the Squadron 42 first part? Oh, so like the demo we've referenced. At home when people in the event can. Possibly.
That would be a big shaft. That would be a big shaft if they didn't. Like, yeah. I could understand Pyro because, it's a demo that they can't release and, you have to play it in a controlled environment. But if they're trying to push Squadron 42 as a game that they want to try to sell, it would be to their advantage to. You're right, possibly that could happen, but it's kind of mean.
but they did Theaters Award nobody got, but then we had a tech preview of Pyro, so
yeah.
So they went in both directions. So Squadron 42, if the demo is actually a legit thing, could go in both directions. Yeah.
I was playing that Theaters of War.
Like I said before, when it's polished enough, they would. I didn't. I was too busy working.
I don't understand why they had. It wasn't that bad when I played it. I don't understand why they felt like it wasn't something worth publishing. I enjoyed it.
I know why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we want to go into it? You got that look on your face like you want to.
The short reason is because latency was ass.
I didn't see any of that
awful.
when I was playing it.
Well, were you playing
no
in person?
Worse than Star Marine. I was playing it. No, I was playing it at home. And I think,
okay.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to say that? Yeah.
Now we are. Yeah. But like, the one thing that Sean had said about
it's been long enough. NDAs are 2 years.
I think Sean said it was like he didn't want to do a Star Marine where he just dropped it and left. They wanted to make sure it was good and solid, and then slowly but surely got
the thing that gets me is like I play Star Marine now, and it has some pretty heinous bugs in it. Like I regularly run through a round of Star Marine and Gun Rush. You kill somebody, they die, it plays the animation and the sound, and then they get up and you walk away trying to deal with the next guy, and he gets back up and kills you. That happens to me several times per round. So it was no way worse than current Star Marine. So I'm a bit bummed that they had a higher. I guess maybe I should be grateful that they had higher standards for it.
Yeah,
but at least for a single player game, they wouldn't have that issue because everything is contained in you.
Right.
It's you versus the AI.
Right.
You don't have to contend with netcode.
So that's a very valid point.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
All these things that they are happy to show off and showcase, like the AI, none of the latency issues are going to, be a problem for Squadron 42. We get to see everything in its full glory.
I was playing the Evocati build before I went to Wave 1, and I was just like dumbfounded because it was 30 FPS. Like the server, 30 FPS servers, 60 FPS pinged. It was just not even budging, and I was like, "What did they do?"
Yeah.
And then I realized they only had 9 people on that server, so I was like, "Oh, okay." And then my next initial thought was, "Oh, this is what Squadron must feel like." Because it's like that stable and that consistent. So
right.
Anyways, I'm gonna address something in chat real quickly because Firestar mentioned that there was like a $100,000 wall art piece that CIG did as kind of a way of saying, well, CIG is not sitting there trying to be like milking money and out of people. And I'll save you a chance if you do have the evidence for it. It'd be great to see because I've never heard of this $100,000 wall art. But on top of that, it was if it's in their new studio, they were building a new studio, and everyone does that sort of thing for their studios because, as we were saying earlier, you want people to work there, and you don't want people to you want to make your office not a cubicle hell. You want to make it fun and interesting.
That goes back to the point of making sure that your employees are happy and enjoy the job.
Yeah. and art
Yeah.
does that. So
Before we move on, there's someone in YouTube chat who's asking about the Raven
Right.
kit that
Yeah,
will be
'cause you stepped away
taking
before we
pre-orders.
moved on to the
Yeah,
next
of
one.
Instar. Yeah. No, the kit is lighting ready, so it has translucent parts that can be used for diffusion of lights, but it doesn't come with any sort of electronics with it because that is a legal quagmire and hole that sending
when is
that
it
sort
going
of
to be
stuff
ready
through
though?
mail is just we're taking pre-orders at CitizenCon.
Okay, so it's going to be
And the final kit, full kit with all the final art has been sent to John Crew for
approval.
final approval.
Got it.
Once we get that, it's just heads down production.
He has to build it and paint it himself, is what you're trying to say. Yeah,
Yes,
and light it.
yes, he does. Yes.
For those who don't know, John Crew is
But
a
yeah,
massive hobbyist. So
yes. But no. Again, it is lighting compatible, but doesn't come with a lighting kit. However, if you come join our Discord, there's our painter and assembler who is doing a turn by turn tutorial on how to do it. So you can get all the information from there.
let me refresh the camera.
From the void.
From the void. All right. Okay. But in general, the main question, do you think we should be able to get it from home? I'd hope so. I'd hope we'd be able to play the thing from home, because I think it's a missed opportunity at CIG. If they already have it packaged, ready to go, it's already been an executable that players can play on a computer. It's a download at that point.
There is the issue of proprietary data and data mining and stuff. Maybe
There is, which is why I think
could be a challenge.
Which I think would be better if you get it as part of your pre-order. As you get, if you have Squadron 42, you get access to it. I think that would be a little bit better, because it's like more of a thank you, here you go. And of course, because CIG has a 30-day return policy, you can always return the copy of the game if you and after it. So it's basically free. So,
but if they are planning on doing a wider release of Chapter 1, I think if it even exists, the release on CitizenCon is going to be a test bed of a lot of people doing things that the devs and QA have no idea about even attempting to do and break the game.
Yeah. All right. Jen Tonic asked a question, which is going to be very quick. What is Soul Singer? I don't know. For those of you who don't know, Soul Singer is a trademark that CIG applied for back in June. And it specifically has to deal with video games. I don't know a lot about copyright stuff. I believe Danny Raymond, a Ray's Guide, did a good job, because he has a little bit more experience in sort of copyright, or not copyright. It's not copyright. It is trademark. Copyright is not the same as trademark, and trademark is a very specific term in terms of legality. I'm not a lawyer. I just know enough to know that like trademark and copyright are not the same. And trademarks are a lot more complicated. So
playing catch up though, that's Soul Singer, not Soul Singer.
You know what I want? This is pure speculation. I wonder if CIG found an outside investor to give them money to make a new game with an entirely new staff that uses the Star engine, but for a fantasy world, so it doesn't compete with Star Citizen.
I have no idea what
pure speculation.
Like we'll either know or not know, because there's plenty of things that get trademarked and then they just die and then they get retrademarked. They usually get them because I think Starfield was trademarked like 4 times by Bethesda.
Yeah,
and was rejected all times except for the last one, because the thing about trademark is you have to prove you're using it and you have it, and it's meaningful. So
you have to show it's used in commerce.
Yes,
and you get extensions. You get a certain number of extensions on them.
Yeah,
and if you exceed the extensions, then you got to file it again.
So they could just have been, this is the idea we have, we want to get it down, and so they have it there and it's pending, so that when they get to it eventually they can talk about it. But yeah, but it's mostly, and you lose a trademark. Yeah. All right. Next question comes from Aurelius Indominus, who asks, do you think Star Citizen will be will be in future be player battles like Eve, or will it be players united to fight against the Vanduul all the time? I think he's asking, are we going to get big PvP battles as well as PvE? Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
What I hope to see is players versus the Hurstons.
Yeah, I do too, but that's just my own personal thing. I think maybe both and the same, and both at the same time. Not only both, but both at the same time. I could definitely see CIG doing 2 faction battles where players can be involved in either faction and fight each other. That's what Elite did with a lot of its power play stuff. Is basically NPC factions are fighting each other, and you can join either side and fight in the PvP and PvE mixed battles. So I don't see why not.
Yeah.
Gin and Tonic asks, supposition on this panel is that Squadron 42 Star Citizen is a huge mountain of bad press to overcome to be successful. Do they really? Most of the bad press was years ago, and I just don't think there's that many people who, outside of the insider group. What do you think? The think about it. Thoughts? The problem isn't the people who think about it. We're not talking about us or the people who's made their whole life decisions, their whole life based around trying to make sure Star Citizen is bad or exposing CIG or whatever. We're not talking about those people. Those people don't matter. We're talking about is the person who goes, oh, what's this Star Citizen? Google Star Citizen. First thing comes up. Star Citizen's raised X amount of money, is selling $4,000 ships, no release date in sight. That's the problem.
$45,000, DLC.
It's the SEO currently is bad. So any casual observer is going to be immediately hit with bad news, even if it's old news, because I don't know how to put this gently. People are idiots. Most people are stupid, and most people will not look past the first source rank that they see because they're lazy. And most people do not investigate.
Was it George Carlin
stuff.
who said, imagine how stupid the average person is, and then realize that half the population is dumber than that?
Yeah, most people do not put a lot of, like, there's plenty of things in life that you've probably passed by and never put a thought into, or things you've heard and been like, that's probably right. People say that's the case because it doesn't bother you and it's not part of your life and you don't even give a shit. Like, and that's the average person, average gamer is somebody who's just like, oh, fuck it. I don't give a shit. Most will say, oh, isn't it that scam game that's got like $1 billion that nobody cares about?
Yeah.
You know, like, and that's what we're talking about when we talk about like a bad press. We're talking about it has to overcome it would be better if nobody knew about it, because then when it comes out, people go,
they have a clean slate.
Yeah, but they don't have that clean slate. They're already starting off with a bad foot that they have to overcome that sort of supposition. So, I don't know.
Thank you, Jaded.
And none of that stuff came up. What is Star Citizen? Here, let me do it real quick. No loading screens. What is Star Citizen platform? Should I buy it? Let's look at the news section.
Yeah, hit the news tab. Yeah.
Yeah, looking in the news tab, all of them are about the forced work stuff. All of them.
Really? It's been spraying that much?
Polygon, Rock Paper Shotgun, 80 level, massively overpowered, GameSpot, MMORPG, Insider Gaming, Dual Shockers, Rock Paper Shotgun again, and Mesda Media under the news. So.
Are they all referencing Insider Gaming?
Yes.
Who is referencing Trust Me Bro emails?
Yes.
So that's low level effort.
But they get
just copying somebody else's article.
Yeah.
Sure. But
and then they're getting
they're on the first page of the news.
From it.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
So it generally is. It is generally like as long as they get the name right, people get interested in it. But I mean, what we're talking about is like it's you have to get over that mountain of bodies that are that are out there in order for people to kind of see it. So I'm doing Squadron 42 as well. Funny enough, there's not that much about Squadron 42 as I've thought before.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I've never done that before.
Yeah,
I wonder
because a lot of people don't realize that they're the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The news section is still the same thing, but we've got three. The top three are the ones on Insider Gaming, and then the IGN India says Star Citizen 1.0 twinkles on the horizon. Dev says 12 years and $669 million later. Dev,
Just give them a
that's
win,
old.
can they?
yeah, that was March 15th.
That's like 2 months old. Oh, in March, yeah.
Yeah. So
Because these games don't realize just how much money games
Yeah.
make
Yeah.
if
No,
they're
yeah.
successful.
the point,
Warzone,
yeah, but
Warzone, famously in a month made over $1 billion.
I
A month.
and even if you go to the to Reddit, outside of the Star Citizen subreddit, you're going to see the same sort of mentality. I think it's changing. The mentality of Star Citizen is a scam is changing, but there's still a lot of bad press which can sway people's just passive opinions, because you want to get those people who've never heard of Star Citizen Squadron 42 who would enjoy the games to find out about the game and play it, but they won't even get there if their initial thought is, oh, so it's a controversial game. Whatever kind of thing. All right, next question comes from Vlada06, who asks, are we getting a specific release date at this CitizenCon? That's a good question. Darsh, do you think we're getting a specific release date? Like a day, month, year? Or month, day, year?
Very weasel-wordy, I would say. So last year we got no. This year we're getting a very weasel-wordy release date, nothing specific. I think it will be closer. It's like I said, a proper one will be when they start heavily marketing it.
Okay. Radar?
Yeah, I'm skeptical that we'll get an actual solid date. I think this is their opportunity to talk about it and drum up buzz about it, because they will be able to show a lot about it, I think, and it's the focus of CitizenCon, I think, for at least a good chunk of it. Obviously, since it's framed as a Bengal, the whole venue is framed as a Bengal carrier. I think this is their chance to basically drum up buzz about it and basically just kind of say, release dates around the corner. That's my guess. But we could all get very surprised in 2 weeks.
I think we're going to be even more
weeks, isn't
general.
it?
Yes. I think we're going to be even more general because of the things we've talked about before about how much advertising is going to rely on the date, and that if you blow past that date, you're spending advertising on a thing that's already wrong. I think they'll probably even be more cautious and just say 2025.
Yeah.
I think they'll just say like a year date, and then they'll slowly, as they get closer, release new trailers that have, summer or fall or spring, winter, whatever. And
if they are not 100% confident that they could make a date, that would be the most prudent thing that they could do, is say 2025.
Yeah. And then as it get closer, we'll get more specifics. But yeah,
They should just do a re-release of the Answer the Call 2016.
Oh, that would be poking the bear.
I think if they redid it with cut in like because how when he's talking about various actions. If they redid it and they cut in with like actual scenes of like what was going on and everything is like that, I think like new footage, it would be kind of cool. Or cut in like gameplay footage, it'd be cool.
They do know how to poke fun at themselves, though.
Yes.
Well, I was just going to say they could say really this time.
Yeah, for real this time.
Yeah.
I think we already kind of go.
Somebody pick up that phone.
Iris Dreadtide asks, mandatory crunch / overtime, bad ideas or worst ideas? I think we all kind of talked about that earlier. It's like I don't think mandatory overtime produces good work. You don't stop people from doing it. My dumbass has spent way too much time. I have spent entire nights filming, recording, and editing videos to be released. I have abused my body to get stuff out. I had no financial incentive to do so, and I'm not getting paid for it enough money to even justify the time I put into it. But I put that time in because I want to. I'm like, I got to get this out of this one because of my own imposed release dates and for improvement stuff. And it always feels good when it succeeds, but that's from my personal experience. So while I don't think it's a good idea, I do think it's going to happen, even if employees don't do mandatory, or employers don't say mandatory. But we'll move on from that because I think we spent 30 minutes on that question.
Just rewind this video to the beginning and watch all of that again. Yeah.
James 12 says, if Squadron 42 is wildly successful, do you think that will slow down Star Citizen's development? That's a good question. Like instead of developers moving over to Star Citizen from Squadron, they'll just instantly start working on Chapter 2 and forego speeding up development.
I don't think so.
Why not?
I don't know.
Oh,
Well, I guess it depends. You know, wildly successful as in overshadowing really dramatically what they're making from Star Citizen. If that really happens, they may very well have the resources to bring in additional people to try to do both. Like,
Yeah.
I guess it depends on where CIG decides the best direction for them to go in is. You know, I don't know. A little bit of it kind of feels like trying to imagine how to solve a problem that's probably not going to manifest. But
if it's so extremely successful where they just want to rotate it right over there, I 100% see CIG being like, cool, we're expanding our already insane studio by another 300 developers because at that point it won't be just we're talking about such crazy, like no one has this knowledge sort of thing, and is very, in my opinion, unlikely. But if that was to happen, where you're like, they'd have the money to invest in new developers, and CIG has already showed that they will do that. They will throw money back into the company, and people will want to work for them because it's like, you just made this amazing game that we all want to be part of. So
I think what makes a lot of that easier is that a lot of the underlying technology has been done, and it mostly comes down to story and artwork. You know, making a good story and having
the content
for anything. Yeah.
Darsh,
the actual game
so
itself.
So like the development would actually continue in Star Citizen, but creation of content is something that they could potentially migrate a portion of to speed up Chapter 2's release or Episode 2's release. But do we really think that there's going to be a huge fundamental technology shift from Episode 1 to Episode 2? Like, we could probably imagine that Episode 1 is going to release the new lighting thing that Ben Perry showed off at last CitizenCon with the ray tracing, global illumination, and stuff like that. So where to go then? Like fully ray traced for Episode 2, and even server meshing 2.0 for Episode 2. Is there, once they're done? Hello, Popper. Once they're done with the technology for Squadron, is there much to develop still if you want to, create the next generation of the video game? Or is it just content at that point?
I personally think it's content. It's just Chris Roberts had a vision of what he wanted to do in 2012, and I don't think that vision's changed that much. I think he still has an idea of what the story he wants to tell, and is worked with people to tell. So it's just a matter of like, just get the story done. I don't see Chris doing a huge kind of overview, but
do you think they have plot outlines for the rest of the story?
Oh yeah, because remember, they originally had a big, thick like script that they wrote, and then Aaron Roberts came in and was like, this is far too much for us to do in one game, and so they cut it into 3 games. That's the reason why this is.
I didn't know this. So
yeah, like they had a huge, like the original Squad 42 was just one game, and it was like, it was big. And when Aaron came in and said, nope, that's when they said, we're going to release this in parts, part 1, 2, and 3. And so chapter 1 is actually mission 1 out of 26 missions in Squadron 42. So,
like, do we think that all the same players and actors would be it?
What's that?
Like, I'm sure. Do we think all the same actors and players would be in the second part?
I don't know. We don't know.
Because that's some big money at that point, trying to get Gary Oldman and all these Oscar winners back in there. Mark would probably do it because he's a big fan. But
yeah, I mean, it's a question as well, is how much did they actually film of that?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I don't believe Gillian Anderson is actually making it out of the intro, just because she's always been and featuring Gillian Anderson.
Yeah.
She's always been second
maybe
tier.
Doesn't that javelin get blown up or something?
So. Yeah, exactly.
We are getting
don't give
into
it
some. We're going to spoiler territory, but CIG is already spoiled what the name of the javelin is, and then in one of the Galactopedia updates, they talk about it specifically and how what its fate was. CIG is already spoiled it. This is one of the reasons why when people are like, well, I don't want to have them have Squadron 42 Chapter 1 out because it's going to be spoiled. I'm like, CIG has already spoiled it, which means that they already intended for people to know this. It's kind of like the prologue. Chapter 1's kind of like the prologue. So, but yeah, no, I would,
yeah, but
I would venture to guess
not.
I would venture to guess not a lot of the big name actors would probably make it into part 2 or part 3 because it's like, why? That's a lot of money. So
yeah.
So Bishop's not been mentioned. Like none of the people have been mentioned in any of the lore for Star Citizen much. So we don't know how far into the Squadron 42 story their story ends.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
All we know is that we as players survive.
Yes. Okay. QPan asks, what's your favorite JRDF models out there, out of the released models, and why?
Oh, the Raven. Big time. Because Darge made it.
Yeah.
The Raven hasn't been released yet. But thank you. Yes.
I like the 1 to 500 Cutlass, just because it's nice and simple, it's easy to build, and it's got the engines are separate, so when you glue them together, you can actually glue them to be like hovering, or you can put them on like magnets, and so you can flip them back and forth if you need to.
Yeah, you don't have to glue them because they should be press fit. But also, I think this one's kind of my favorite. But
400i. Yeah.
One day I'll make sure that this gets out. Yeah.
Nice.
It's missing its nose. That's going to be a separate part. But yeah.
All right.
You weren't supposed to see that, chat.
JRDF secrets.
Oh jeez, not javelin. I
1 to 500 javelin. 1 to 500 javelin. What? Yeah, exactly. Something that's the size of a dinner table.
Yeah.
6 foot long. People will buy it.
I'll make room.
I'll
hang it from my ceiling.
People buy like the $1,000 Titans from Games Workshop. Someone's going to buy the 6 foot javelin model. Okay.
Yeah, but is it going to be enough people that are going to offset all the work that I'm going to have to put into?
Wait a minute, Darge.
JRDF
how many Legatus Navium people are there in this game who've dropped more than 45 grand? I think the answer to that question is yes. There'll be plenty.
I think if you no matter the price, people will use it because like in 40K, people and in other hobbies that have these sorts of gigantic expensive models, people use that as sort of like a status symbol. Like, yeah, I have the dumb purchase that nobody ever uses that I just have hanging around. You know.
If you know those people, just forward them to our show because there's plenty of kids that haven't been sold out yet.
Tell us down in the comments below, would you buy a $5,000 javelin? And if so, go to jrdf.se and buy all the model kits. All right.
Yes, please do that because my livelihood depends on it.
Iris Dreadtide asks, what cosmetic options would you like to see implemented that have not yet been promised? Armor customization, armor color customization, or armor customization in general. Like maybe even adding more storage to armor. I think that's kind of there, but like making your armor cosmetically and possibly functionally different by different editions and such. What do you think?
For me, it's
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead, Dodge. Sorry, I can hold mine till later.
Body kits for ships. Actual 3D geometry that you can tack on to your ship to make it to change its silhouette slightly. Just like a bumper or a spoiler. Need for Speed Underground 2 thing. Stuff, that sort of stuff.
How about you, Andy?
I want an executive edition paint for the 890. And I told John Crew on Twitter that if he made one, I would put his name on a satellite that we send to orbit.
All right. Here's a spice. I
just had an idea. If I model the original RSI Zeus, like very tiny,
Mhm.
couple of grams, would you
Mhm.
launch it into space?
We could. You'd have to show me the size, and I got to find an opening for it. But that's a possibility that is not outside the realm.
Ooh.
JRDF Zeus.
The only thing is material. It's got to whatever it's made out of. It's got to be made of something that won't outgas, and we there's some little requirements there, but I think we can make it happen.
You'd have to have full
They make
have to look into how
they make
how
stuff
the
for
resin handles vacuum.
Yeah, because I got one of these bamboo printers, and I know they make materials for space faring parts.
Yeah,
because they
Right.
print stuff all the time.
Right. We just got a couple of resins, but maybe I have to actually
let's talk.
Contact the manufacturer. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's probably some material you could use, like FDM, not FDM. Like the stuff they use for like toys and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Playing catch up.
Not ABS. I think ABS off gases.
Oh.
But yeah.
Playing catch up gamer asked this. I say a lot of these things are spicy, and what I mean by that is they're not necessarily controversial, but they're definitely going to be. Someone's going to go as a result of these questions. So whenever I say that, that's what I mean. I mean more of it's going to get people talking. Asks, do you think CIG will try and copy features UE5 has, like megalights they announced, and should they? I don't know what megalights is. Megalights from UE5?
I really hope not, because anyone who's done any sort of digging into past the shiny of Unreal Engine 5 will realize how fucking unoptimized it is.
It's such a pain in the ass to work with.
Such a piece of shit.
Yeah.
It drops performance for its fidelity by like a third or a quarter of what it could be done with proper LODs. And Lumen, like all of it is super shiny and runs really well if you got like a 4080 or a 4090, but majority of people are still on.
The only way is if you're future proofing stuff like this, people are going to have more powerful cards in the future, and it's better to design something that's a little power hungry now. That runs on a faster card later.
But you still have to optimize it, and the concepts that Unreal Engine has are good, but they're just regular, sort of like, for the most part, just regular ray tracing and cutting edge stuff that everybody else is working on. Like Unity has some really, really good stuff, but Unity is there's other stuff about Unity that a lot of people just
its owner's a human piece of garbage.
Oh no!
He's the guy. He's a former EA CEO who's the guy who pushed microtransactions and loot boxes into every EA game. He's the one who's like, we're going to charge developers for
one of his.
What is it?
No. One of his ideas was we're going to charge players to reload faster.
Yes. So if you run out of bullets, you pay $1 to reload your gun.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah,
that's terrible.
He was the genius who said, let's charge developers more money for every download that their game gets on a store. So like per user basis, they're charging the developers per user.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, he's not a CEO anymore.
They rolled it back for personal licenses, but not for professional and enterprise. They only rolled that back a week ago or so for professional and enterprise licenses. After that,
per install.
Per install. Yeah. So after the was something back, whatever, not a fallback.
We're getting off topic.
No, but no, for personal licenses, they rolled it back immediately after the fallout of that. But for professional and enterprise licenses, where they actually make the money, they didn't.
Yeah,
and nobody caught on that.
Yeah, so UE5, the issue with UE5 is it requires attention. It is not an off-the-shelf engine. It's an engine that looks great, and you can tune it, but it is a pain in the ass to work with if you don't know what you're doing, and you have to learn how to make it work and optimize it. And it's just not very well optimized right now. That's it.
But even in first party Epic titles like Fortnite, when they switched to mandatory Lumen, the performance dropped to half or below half.
Yeah, and it's all as Omega was pointing out. The person who we talked about did not found Unity. He was just hired as the CEO.
Yeah. It's one of those what is it? Run and gun middle management CEOs who just care about immediate profits and fuck everything else.
Yeah. Worst part is that he's a friend of my father's. So, like my dad went to business school with him.
His what? Sorry.
He's a friend of my dad's. My dad went to business school with him.
Oh.
So it was just one of those weird ones. Like, oh, interesting. Wait, UE5 isn't an off-the-shelf engine. Or what we mean is that if you want to optimize it well to run on most places, you have to actually optimize it. It's great because it has a lot of tools that come with it. And it can become a great tool for because a lot of the tools are stuff that other developers have to develop themselves in-house to make function for for other off-the-shelf engines or their own engine. It has a lot of good tools for that, but it also requires optimization and really tuning it in for the game you're building, because you get an engine that's going to be good for your game, not an engine and find a game to build with, if that makes sense.
Also, one thing about Unreal Engine that anyone who's involved in game development is just gonna, shudder when I say these three words: shader compilation stutter.
Oh God.
I
don't know enough about
it. That is
the
worst engine when it comes to that.
Yeah.
But no, there are concepts that Unreal Engine is pursuing that are ingenious. I would say that Lumen theoretically really interesting and has potential, but its current implementation is dog shit.
Mm-hmm.
No, sorry, Nanite, not Lumen.
Yeah.
But and on the other hand, CIG is approaching Lumen's implementation with, again, Ben Perry's panel at last year's CitizenCon with the software implementation of global illumination, ray trace global illumination that they are pursuing, which is based on AMD's global illumination paper.
Yeah.
That was at SIGGRAPH. If you want great, proper development, look at SIGGRAPH stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the one thing you got to understand about a lot of the people who work at CIG, especially in the engine team, is these are the people who built the original CryEngine.
Yeah.
A lot of them are the original developers of the engine.
Yeah.
So, these are people who have spent decades building engines. And so they kind of have they're crazy. They're the kind of people, they're not even the crazy people who are like, I'm going to spend 4 years of my life building 4 months of my life building a Gazelle. But people who spend, a decade being like, I'm going to make the thing that makes other things work. Like, you're building tools, it'd be like dedicating your life to making the best hammer. No one's ever going to know who you are, except for maybe some really dedicated construction workers, but
hammer enthusiasts.
Yes.
Podcasts.
All right. Captain Fishsticks asks, if Squadron 42 is a success, do you think Star Citizen specific development will go on the back burner again? We already answered that question earlier.
Yeah.
That was like the direct copy of the previous question.
Yeah. Kenku97 asks, do you think Squadron 42 will release on consoles? If so, will this affect the end product on PC due to reducing graphics, LOD, etc.? I will say the statement that was made by Ben Lesnick when this first started coming up as a question, which is every single Chris Roberts Wing Commander game has been on consoles.
There's just a lot of money in it. Mm-hmm. If they make a game that can work on a console, it's a pathway to easy, low friction players.
The issue is not about performance, because the PS5 Pro thing
Yeah.
is like costs as much as a PC and has the performance of a PC, so it will run.
Mhm.
But again, it's the control scheme that is the bottleneck when it comes to
Well,
this, because there's just
You-
so much that you can't map to a single controller.
But you can make the argument in Squadron 42 that some of the paradigms that they're using lend themselves well to a controller. Like the whole F UI paradigm that they have
Yeah.
now is
Mm,
very akin to like the A button or the X button or something along those
Yeah.
lines.
And they also
Yeah,
have
it-
radio
it-
menus, which is a very big thing for a lot of
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And you could
no,
you could
but
you could make an
but there's
argument that
just
they're
so
working on it.
much. Yeah, I guess making it a controller agnostic would benefit, but I just been so ingrained into keyboard and mouse that I just my entire keyboard is filled with hotkeys, and it's layers of hotkeys, and depending on whether I'm on foot or in a vehicle or in a spaceship, they're different. And how many buttons does a controller have? It's just there's always
yeah.
the hell
I'm
is
gonna make.
that?
I just want to make a non-sponsoring plug
yeah, I
here
know
for
that
this
one.
device.
It's a
It's,
it's a keyboard, right?
What? Yeah. Let me. What the heck is the name of it? Why am I drawing a blank on it? It's a Azeron software keyboard. So it's an
Yeah.
Azeron keyboard, and I don't know if you can tell by these pictures, but each one of these little things in here is a mappable key, and you basically slide your hand into it. You got a bazillion keys there. I swear by this thing. It's one of the things that's really helped improve my game in Star Marine and everything else. But I get it. I
Is
get
it
you.
console compatible?
No, that is kind of where I was going with it. You don't have that kind of stuff on a console, and you'd have to figure out how to make it work well enough.
Yeah, the Azeron
Like the
is
FPS stuff,
great.
though.
I love it. Sorry, I was just talking about your
Yeah.
thing. I've seen videos of it. This is the first time I've seen it like somewhat in person.
Yeah.
Like, oh, no, neat.
I really do like it a lot. It's very handy for mapping stuff. There's so many keys on it, you can easily reach at them, and it's great for playing FPS games where you got too many keys you got to map. But like the thing is, there's so many other console games out there that manage to get by with the minimum stuff with a game controller. I think that they probably should look into
it's
it.
not impossible.
have it.
It's not impossible. So if they had a dedicated team of people to creating a control scheme that would work, with a controller, only with a controller, they could do it. But
You
year and
you
a
can
half,
make
2
the
years
argument that
after
they already
release on
have,
PC?
because you can already play Star Citizen with a game controller.
Yeah.
Can you do everything with a game controller?
Yes, you can.
Or do you have to at one point put it down and grab a keyboard?
Nope, you can do everything with a controller.
How do you chat? Well, Squadron wouldn't
need chat.
Wouldn't require chat.
Mm.
I do think that the thing that a lot of people don't realize is that consoles are not always the exact same thing as computers, because a lot of the hard coded rules rather than software upgrades and stuff like that, and how things work. I think it's gotten more to less. There's less of a desire to what was the old term, code to the metal. I think is what it was, something like that, where you're focusing. It's how they can trick consoles to look good, even though it's on worse hardware in theory.
Right. Yeah. Because there's fewer abstraction layers between the code and the execution code on the hardware.
Yeah.
But Vulkan is a step towards that already. So
Yeah. So and a lot of those
it
engines
runs
are using
natively
that.
on. Yeah. So
But there's still a lot of effort. Like, I don't think CIG is going to release. I think Squadron 42 will release on consoles. I don't think it's releasing simultaneously on consoles.
No.
Right.
So it's like the opposite of GTA.
Yes.
So PC first, consoles several years later.
And I do think that
Yeah.
they'll either work with Chris Roberts. You can say a lot about the man, but him or somebody on his team is a master negotiator, because I have never seen a company get so many freebies out of other companies than CIG. The amount of time CIG has worked with a company and they're just like, we're going to do this whole thing bespoke just for you. FOIP. Do you remember Cytec when they were building custom keyboards? And Chris, they weren't selling it through the web store. They were just going to do it on their own, and they were just paying for CIG's like the different names is all it was. It was like, and then they have gotten away with so much stuff. I was like, where are you? How? What is going on with these things? I don't know how they're able to do this, but they're really good. So I think whatever console that they're going to end up releasing it to, I don't think it's going to be console agnostic. I think they're probably playing, if they are thinking about it, they're probably going to play Sony and Microsoft off one another to see who wants it better, and eventually get them to basically make their own port, make them build a company or take one of their teams and port it for them. But so CIG doesn't have to worry about it. I can see that
because you have companies that specialize in porting console games to PC, and there are some that are really good at it, and then there's some that suck ass. But the other way around, I believe, could be a thing. Microsoft and Sony have several studios under their wings that it could that it could grab and just say this is the game on PC, make it as true to the PC version as possible, but run it on our version of a PC, which is just
I think
an AMD CPU and GPU at this point.
I think like that's going to require 20 devs in a room, not 100, not 1,300, across several continents.
Because they're not creating anything; it's just converting. So Crytek games run on consoles, right?
There is a console mode. There's a console mode you can run. You can like basically
but they have released. You have released, right? They have released something like Rome and Crysis and Far Cry. Have those released on consoles, or are they just PC exclusive at this point?
Yeah, they've released on consoles. Rome, all of the Crysis games released on consoles. I think famously Crysis 2 or 3 were initially released to consoles and then went to PC or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Both Crysis 2 and 3.
So like some of the base code should
Far Cry
definitely
2
be still compatible. Yeah.
So yeah. All right. So do you think it will affect the end product on the PC? No, I don't think any of us think that CIG releasing to consoles is going to affect PC. At most, what it's going to do is they're going to work on control schemes so that it'll work with this, but this has nothing to do with consoles. This has to do with accessibility. Because there are some people who legitimately cannot play with a mouse and keyboard because they physically cannot because of, injuries or that sort of thing. So this is an easy solution. And there are other game things that they have supported, like the Tobii Eye Tracker and other things like that, which are also accessibility features that they can use.
Yeah, but not even that. There's I don't know about Sony, but Xbox has like hugely advanced and
those big control
proper
buttons, right?
accessibility controllers.
Yeah. So and CIG wants to be able to support
those are
all of
designed
those.
to mimic. Those are designed to mimic an Xbox controller, and first you have to make the game fully operational with an Xbox controller.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think CIG that's really where you're seeing with a lot of this focus on accessibility is because CIG wants to make it as widely accessible, because not only is it the right thing to do, it's also really good PR if you're able to say any console, anything, because it's also some crazy bastard is going to complete Squadron 42 with his microwave, or something like that. If you can make it completely universally. Donkey Konga, no death run.
Like Dark Souls with Donkey Kong bongos. Yeah. Oh god.
So, all right. Next question. We've been burning them down. We've only been going for an hour and a half, and we still have 14 questions left. Some of these will be pretty quick because, for instance, how do you feel about the shield changes? I don't know about the shield changes. Do you know anything about the shield changes, Darsh?
I know they exist, but it is a balancing thing. It is, and you really have to be involved that much into PvP, I guess, or dogfighting to really figure it out. Because I don't think there Are there any fundamental changes, or is it just balancing changes?
I don't know. I think they're referencing the shield size difference changes that was balanced, which I don't have an opinion on because I have no idea. There's so many other things that are going to happen between now and the future, like in the next couple of patches, in terms of like how resource management is going to work and all that sort of things that we just really don't have that. So.
Yeah, with the resource management, the only thing is that you can assign power to shields. That is the change, but that is more of a question about power management and resource management rather than just shields. So if that is the question, I'm sure we can go into it. But other than that, I don't think there's anything other than we are balancing the shields to be closer to our vision than before. And
okay, I'm looking through chat. Someone's saying it's with armor and component HP. And it's like we need to have a lot more in depth, and I don't think this is the right crowd to talk about that. I definitely need more stuff, but
more execute stuff.
Yeah, probably like talking with execute or talking with like A1 or you know, those folks who more that kind of thing. I will not be attending CitizenCon this year, sadly. I originally had a ticket, I had plane, I had a hotel, and then this happened. And it meant that I don't have enough time off to get everything fixed. It doesn't hurt. It's fine. It's just, and I could pay for it. It was just the time off thing. So I couldn't sucks, but, all right.
We'll drink a Marmarison in your honor.
I still have to get a full body picture to send to you, Daesh, so you can carry.
Not me, Loken.
Is it Loken? Okay. All right. If Squadron 42 does come out in consoles, should it be this gen or next gen? Are they already talking about a next gen?
I haven't even heard of any next gen yet.
No. Other than PS5 Pro, but that's a refresh. That's just Yeah.
All right. Whatever this gen is, probably.
Yeah.
Iris Jetide asks, do you think Squadron 42 will let you fly any ship contemporaneously to the story? No. I think yes and no. I think there may be a situation where you could get out of your ship, punch a dude and steal his ship, and then fly around in that ship. But I don't think that's going to happen often. Like, I think you're going to be in the Gladius, you know?
If you played any of the Wing Commander series, it used to be part of your progression. As you went through each mission, you'd get it. You know, if you went through far enough, they'd give you a better, more powerful ship. If he follows the same concept, it might work like that.
But, you know, story-wise, you are, I would say, an employee of the U.S. Navy. That's not the right term for it. But you're
a starman. You're just a pilot.
Yes, you're a pilot in the UAE Navy. You fly what they tell you to fly.
Yeah.
So potentially, if you're downed and you're given the option, the directive of get back to the Idris, whatever means necessary, then sure, you know. But in terms of like Andy said, you're gonna fly whatever you're told to fly because you're not in charge of that.
All right. Move through these pretty quickly. About the Verse asks, do you think CIG will bring a premium version of Squadron 42 and an ultimate version of Squadron 42 with gimmicks in the PC in Star Citizen PU besides regular Squadron 42 version like Blizzard is doing with games? We already talked about that a little bit. I think they will do a premium and an expanded edition for Squadron with like add-ons.
Want that
hopefully
so
physical add-ons, not
in-game
game experience. Should be identical for everyone. I believe.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's already enough of pay to win in Star Citizen. We don't need it in Squadron.
Yeah. I don't want to. I want the full experience to be available to everyone at release, not having to pay an additional $10 to get that access. What
Love Story with Gillian Anderson for another $25.
you know how many people will pick that up?
Jesus Christ, yeah.
Valian asks, what kind of progression would you like to see added to incentivize players to invest time into the game? Either player-created progression, i.e. using your own starter ship to earn credits for a new one, or something quantified in-game like rep. What kind of progression would you like to see incentivize? Line go up, my man. Line go up. Anything that make line go up. Gamers like line go up. See Helldivers or any community event in Eve or even in Elite. Like you give them a goal, gamers will try to achieve that goal if they have to cooperate, or in their own. So achievements. Like make some achievements. People will do that for the achievements.
Yeah, but you have to be like very not very, but you have to be advanced with your line because money line go up that is definitely not an incentive to me.
No,
it has to be other line go up, like
lots of
more exotic line go up.
Just line in general go up. Make line go up to help to make UEE happy. And you'll be like, I would like to be happy. Yes, I will make line go up. For those of you who don't get what I'm saying, is like any sort of progression where it's visible to the player, where you have an impact on the end goal, even if it's 0.001%, will incentivize people to do stuff. They will do stupid stuff. People will dedicate like their entire personality to said thing for a short amount of time if you do it fun enough. So.
Yeah, which is exactly the reason why I don't play any of these arena shooters, because there is no line go up. There is. Do the same thing over and over again. Ooh. And what changes?
I'm looking at that eBay listing, see how much it costs now.
Yes.
$317.
Damn.
It retailed for $120 when it came out.
That's the same one you got?
Yes, the same one.
Hell.
Yeah, it's the same one. And then mine doesn't have batteries. I need to replace the batteries, but yeah.
Double A's, or is it like a specific one?
It's I think it's like a double A's. I just haven't bothered changing it out to get all the stuff done.
Right. So now I'm really thinking because the what's it called? But the Navy pilot outfit is in the PTU right now.
Yeah.
Because you actually can get it. So we could pull it out and make a wearable version.
Yeah, you can make a wearable version of the helmet. It's there.
Yeah.
Darsh is thinking with his 3D printer again. another thing to sell on JRDS website there, Darsh.
Yeah, actually wouldn't fit into my 3D printer. I would need to get a big one.
Well, you probably have to. Most helmets you have to print in pieces. So
this is true. But if you want to do a proper one, it can't be. It has to be broken up into logical pieces, not just like down the middle. You have a huge seam that you have to fill
sand
in
away,
and sand and fill and sand.
Yeah,
no,
do it along the spots where it would naturally have seams and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yep. That's how I break up the ships for the ships for JRDF. So.
Okay, we got 9 questions left. Iris asks, what ships do you think would be or are the hardest to make into actual physical objects? I think that's for you, Darsh.
Oh, the big ones. Stuff that has a lot of flowing lines there where you can't really break them up. Origin ships primarily are like that. Everything else, Drake, Aegis, Argo, so easy where they're actually made out of pieces that are put together. It's not like clad into one huge shell. Yeah, that's the sort of stuff. And stuff where you really need to make a big one, because that takes a lot of time, a lot of printing, and a lot of money.
A lot of big spots, like a big chunk, rather than pieces.
Yeah, a lot of big. No, but it's just me right now.
Yeah, it's just you doing all of this.
Yeah, And if you get me to make if you actually convince my higher ups to make me do a javelin, we're not doing anything else for several years.
Yeah. That's a post Star Citizen 1.0 release.
Yeah.
All right. So we've got a couple of things. Okay. I'm going to start rejecting a couple of these because some of these are a little bit more. Yeah. Irish Red Tide asks, Uwu, good in-game organization or the best in-game organization? Yes. United Workers Union. Uwu. Yeah. The best. Clear.
Second best lore.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna reject that question. I'm rejecting a lot of the crunch questions because it's like I don't think we need to talk. We've talked 30 minutes about it.
More, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so now we're down to 4 questions. Jaded Cynic asks, do you think CIG's, quote, marketing partners, unquote, are well suited for a modern game media push and launch? If not, do you think they have the presence of mind to hire those who do? For those who don't know, the Culvers, I think is what they are, or the Calders, they own the Calder's Media? Calder Media, I think is what it's called. Entertainment Media Limited. I think I can't. That's Tony Calder. I don't know if that's the one. But yeah, they last I remember.
I think Calder Media Partners. Yeah.
They have a bunch of media partner, like media company that kind of does like advertisements and stuff like that. So I think I think they've at least have the people there who know enough about how to advertise in the modern scene, though I don't know how much experience they have with video games, because video game development and marketing is very different from a movie or a book or a product. As somebody who's worked in product research and met a lot of people who did product marketing as advertisers in marketing, there is a completely different way you go about trying to market a product on a shelf versus something that's like a digital media. It's very, very different. So, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, you kind of have to convince old money that something digital actually has value.
Yeah. So I don't know. I wouldn't be able to tell you if they did or not, because I don't know enough about their media partners to know about what they specialize in, other than that I saw them do commercial media in the past. So, all right, down to the last 3 questions. Kavion asks, do you think the anticipation from people expecting Star Citizen to release in 2025 might pressure CIG to launch it earlier, even if it still needs more polishing? You don't think so, Andy?
No. There's nothing that's going to make him pressure it to release it early, I wouldn't think, because he doesn't have any studio over his head. That's been the whole, we kind of talked about this a little bit earlier. That's been the whole advantage he's had all this time. That's why things have taken so long. It would be silly for him to release it early now after all these years of development.
When it's done.
Yeah, I'm with you. Escape actually asked a question earlier, donated for question. When will we see his quote unquote historically accurate Talon Shrike sold? So Escape has been on about how the Talon should have rocket pods and not missiles, because he thinks that makes more sense in terms of the sort of design language and theory. Because like the Talon Shrike was Talon Shrike, not the Talon, but the Talon Shrike. The Talon Shrike in lore was supposed to be a kind of a up missiled or up rocket sort of version, where it relied more on kinetic projectiles. And the thing about the Shrike is that it was, and the Talon was, they're used to ground attack. They were ground attack platforms. So they came in, hit and run, and left. So his argument is, if you're going to do something like that, where you're attacking ground targets, just kind of generally attacking ground targets, you probably want dumbfire rockets rather than missiles where
Like
you have
the
to lock
Delta.
on. And yeah, like the Delta. So he's trying to push for a version of the Talon that has rocket pods instead of missiles.
Talk to Asperia.
Yeah, there we go.
But yeah, also Macton, if every ship punches above its weight class, then none of them do.
Thank you, Incredibles. I think if they were actually two, because this is more towards me, like what would they actually have? It would have a variety of exotic missile rockets. Because the thing about in lore is that the Tavaran were very good at just having everything. They just kind of threw everything at the wall. They weren't just one specific. They weren't just ballistics or lasers or energy. They talk about how after the First Tavaran War, humanity was experimenting in freaking chemical weapons, like a gun that shot chemical like projectiles at people, like an acid gun, or like that sort of thing, like various different like styles and unique and exotic forms of projectiles, which means that the Tavaran were using everything and anything. So probably rockets that would be, kinetic, HE, like energy somehow,
fans of Unreal Tournament, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Electricity. All right.
All of that is being developed, and I'm guessing it's that technology that humanity took from the Tavaran. Yeah, but in the past, all we had were ballistics
and lasers, directed energy lasers.
Yes.
Steve That Answer asks, do you feel Star Citizen needs a storyline, and how would you go about doing it? Darsh?
Yeah, but nothing like sweeping like Squadron does. Like nothing that holds your hands. So it's a story that is happening despite what you do.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That sort of thing, and we've got that. Like we have the election, we have all the lore posts that are sort of happening at the same time as the events of Star Citizen that we're taking part in. And I think there's some sort of progression going on with the whole Xeno threat and Nine Tails that it is sort of evolving, but I wouldn't want it to be more involved than that. Like that some stuff that you have to do if you don't want to be left behind. I wouldn't want that.
Radar, do you think there should be a storyline in Star Citizen?
No way. Squadron is the one where you get the storyline that you walk through and you walk that path. Star Citizen needs maybe a framework to give you a reason, a background. Like Darge nailed everything really with it. The election, some of the Xeno threat, things like that. Stuff to kind of help the universe along. But honestly, it's the players, I think, who should make the story. If they do it right and if they're able to capture some of the right elements from EVE Online, for example, player orgs can wind up generating a lot of that content. And even solo players can ride some of that player-generated content from the org. So you don't even have to be part of one of the orgs in order to kind of ride along with it. There's a big battle between two big orgs in the game, but they all need weapons, and you're a miner, and you're a solo miner who's really happy to go out and sell your ore to the highest bidder. If they do it right, that's really what the storyline should be. Put a couple of little sprinklings here and there to kind of help the story along, but then let the players make that story.
Yeah.
All that should be in the PO should be background, like the
environmental storytelling.
Environmental storytelling. Yeah. That's exactly
the wider arch of story. And I agree. I think there should be a story, but the story in Star Citizen needs to be the story of the EWE. It needs to be this such a big story that we don't feel like we are actually a part of it. It's just the world is existing around us. I always talk about the time I stopped playing WoW for a while. When I came back, there were these gigantic like step pyramids that were floating over the capital cities of the WoW universe. I'd never experienced anything like it. I was like, what is going on? And I tried to run into to the city, and there were these like really high level players who were running out, and I was getting my butt handed to me by some insanely high mobs. And I was like, I don't know what the heck is going on here, because I wasn't following like WoW's development or anything like that. It just kind of happened. And it's that sort of thing is the thing I kind of want to see happen with Star Citizen. It's like you show up and suddenly there's like Ninetales lockdown, or the Siege of Orion's happening. You show up, or like with the current blockade runner, like you show up at you land at a station, you're offloading goods, and suddenly whop whop whop, like there's a blockade going. You're just like, what how that's going on?
Yeah.
Something that catches you off guard. Those sorts of stories, and where the player is being part of an event rather than being like a narrative, like beginning, middle, and end sort of thing. So
Yep.
Will there be game masters creating live content? Sort of. They've talked about the idea, but they need the tools, and just a lot of these tools are going to be in place. Like, I don't know if, like, Jumptown, for instance, isn't going to happen at a set time eventually. Eventually, it's going to happen when CIG, either something's triggered automatically or when CIG decides to happen. Right now, they're using it as sort of a, come on and play the event. But, like, in the future, it'll be something that the players will be able to trigger naturally. So... I also think that there needs to be some storylines, only because you need to have characters. Characters are important to attach onto. How many people who played 2.0 or before 2.0 were attached to Tessa?
Yeah.
Or how many people like still have fond memories of the person I can't remember, Reko Battaglia in Levski, so there's like those sorts of, there needs to be some mission givers where you have some flavor of character whom you're helping, but it doesn't necessarily need to be like a written out story progression. So,
Yeah, there's a lot of it is should be very localized stories, not a grand overarching thing where you're where something the story doesn't progress unless you're actively participating in it. But it also should be dynamic, like either success or fail. That whatever like if Siege of Orison suddenly fails and the Ninetales are in charge of Orison, then maybe you won't be able to buy Crusader ships for a bit until you free Orison from Ninetales.
Yeah,
something like that, or
I
very localized stuff, not
Yeah.
As in Squadron 42. Yeah,
not a grand
world.
sweeping narrative sort of thing. No.
Yeah.
All right, that was the last question for today. Thank you all for coming in for this 2-hour long question and answer session. With mostly because of that 30-minute talk about the whole leak stuff and that kind of thing. Make sure you check out my radar and check out jrdf.sc for those wonderful things. Thank you to Darj and Andy for coming on and talking with us. If you did enjoy this, make sure you smash that like button. Hopefully, the little thing when I said smash the like button, you're looking at it, a little colorful thing. Hit the subscribe button and tickle the bell icon to be notified when these release. And as always, I want to hear your thoughts on any of these topics down below. And join us live at twitch.tv/TheAstroPub, youtube.com/TheAstroPubLive on Saturdays at 4 p.m. Yes, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. Would love to have you here and ask your questions live as well. And like I always say, hope to see you someday in the black.
Hey, my camera survived for that one.
Beelzebub Hobbit. Okay, oh, it's Bite-Size Hobbit. Bite-Size Hobbit. Beelzebub Hobbit sounds really cool, though. Let me go look up Bite-Size Hobbit real quick. Beelzebub Hobbit is actually a badass name. So we're going to rate somebody who's kind of a smaller content creator who is not, maybe a kind of a newer content creator who isn't a, I don't see them. Yes. I'm not seeing. Okay, yeah. I see them. They're okay. Vulgar. That's a little thing. It was like, oh, don't worry. There might be some naughty words here, so just be careful. Later, chat.